Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wise Guys. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler. We are the Wise Guys. This is the largest BYU sports live stream in the whole world, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. New podcast out tomorrow. We are launching into broadcast excellence tonight. We have so much going on.
Yeah, so many good things. Hey, watch for this week's podcast tomorrow. Wherever you get your podcast, it'll be up tomorrow. So if you're watching tonight, you have to cut out or something, and you want to listen to the whole thing, or you want to listen to it again, go on to wherever you get your podcast and look for it. And make sure you're subscribed to our free email at wiseguys.com. You can watch for all of our past content there. We also would love it if you're watching us on YouTube to hit that free subscribe button on YouTube. That helps keep everything alive and keep us going. So all of that, the only things we ask you to do are free.
That's the best price.
Except for if you want premium, no commercials, and we're talking about that in just a second.
That might cost a couple bucks.
That's an optional thing. But the things we're asking you to do are free to do.
All right, Jeff from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Let's just see where everyone is. Right out of the gate, Las Vegas, Covina, California, South Roseville,
hey, people
California.
Here from McCann Road, Dave.
McCann Road's back.
It's southwest New Mexico.
Yeah.
The Keelers
Be careful on that road.
Yep.
St. George, Utah. And so let us know where you're taking us in tonight. We got all kinds of good stuff. Brady Plus is our title sponsor.
Don't you think Debbie and Vernal has the best handle of anybody, though? Old Zuby.
Yeah, that is a good one.
I like that. Way to go, Debbie.
Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers, and service and repairs with over 150 distribution facilities across the country, over 6,000 employees. And I say that, Mike, from Huntsville, Alabama. Now we're in Tuscaloosa and Huntsville, Alabama.
We're
tonight.
Taking over Alabama. Way to go, Rebel Dog. So Conrad Monson's in from San Diego. Asking about how about those hoops this last week. Yep.
Yeah.
Springfield, Missouri's in the house. Natalie Yamashita Shimizu. I hope I said that right, Natalie. Springville, Missouri. Mark Johnson, he knows the code. If it's free, it's for me.
I'll take three.
That's Vi Sikahema's his motto. So, hey, Deseret News is now the Wise Guys distribution partner. We're grateful to the Deseret News, Deseret.com, Utah's newspaper since 1850. So you can watch for all of our content on all of their social media sites as they serve Cougar Nation all over the country, all over the world, really, with Deseret.com. So we're grateful to them, grateful to Brady Plus, grateful to you guys for being with us.
Special night tonight. If you're on the stream, you see down there Dennis Pitta and Austin Collie. They're going to join us in a few minutes. They both played in Super Bowls. It's Super Bowl week. Mm-hmm. Eagles and Chiefs, Sunday night on Fox. Andy Reid's going for NFL history. Chance to win 3 straight Super Bowls. He's already making history by being in 3 straight Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Now he's got a chance to win it. So we're going to ask Austin and Dennis, well, what was the morning like of the Super Bowl? The night before? What were those moments for you in the biggest game in North America? I think it's going to be a fun conversation. And
these guys just didn't play in a Super Bowl. They were integral parts of the offenses for both those teams. Like, they were primary targets for both of the quarterbacks. So they didn't just play and sit on the bench.
Pitta caught a touchdown.
They were a big time part of it, and they knew they were going to be big time part of it. So it'd be really interesting to get inside their heads about what it's like to play in a Super Bowl.
It's going to be awesome, and we'll take your questions too. So those 2 superstars are going to join us in just a few minutes.
Hey, how about BYU football? The Big 12 schedule will be announced tomorrow. Where do we expect the BYU-Utah game to be? Did that one get leaked? That one hasn't been leaked.
That one hasn't been leaked.
There's been some that have been
early?
leaked.
Is it going to be late? Is it going to be in the middle? We'll talk about that. We can tell you that
I want a
one of the
Thanksgiving
biggest
weekend
games
every year, but it won't be.
Yeah, it should be. The Colorado game's already been leaked out.
Yeah.
So we know when the Alamo Bowl rematch is going to be. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. And, of course, a mega basketball game tomorrow night at the Marriott Center as February's march to the madness begins. 20th ranked Arizona is here. We'll preview that one. Place will be rocking. The Cougs have won 4 straight. It's just a good time to be on campus. And as we say that, we say hello to Weston in Nebraska, Greg in Farmington, Michael in Beaumont, Texas, as we continue to conquer the world.
Always like when Farmington's in the house, because that's my old stomping grounds.
That's your old
Kaysville,
hood.
Farmington, Davis County. So we appreciate it.
So there's a lot of excitement. It's like the night before Christmas with this football schedule being announced. We already know who is coming and where BYU is going, but we don't know when. And that's going to come together tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Mountain Time. ESPNU is doing a show on it. So there's the Big 12 preview show. And then at 10 o'clock Mountain Time over on BYU TV on BYU Sports Nation, the guys will break it all down and go blow by blow through BYU's schedule and through some of the big games in the Big 12. So then late today, all of a sudden, a couple of games popped out.
Yeah,
it's funny how there's a few feeders.
Things get leaked. We never know how they get leaked. The one that is of great interest is that BYU Colorado game got leaked out.
Yeah,
and everybody's been wondering. Okay, the Alamo Bowl rematch. Is Coach Prime still going to be there at Colorado? We know that Shador is graduating and going to the NFL, be a first-round draft pick. We know that Travis is going to be gone and be a first-round draft pick.
And we wish them well, and we're glad they're leaving.
Yeah, man, thank goodness. Those are explosive, great players. But that's going to be a fun game. Colorado's an up-and-coming team. BYU, two teams that were predicted to be at the bottom of the league that finished at the top of the league, which was really cool. That is going to be Saturday, September 27th. That's the Alamo Bowl rematch.
We don't know if it's Fox or ESPN, but it's going to be one of those two. And we don't know what time. Probably won't know that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting, because these are going to be two contenders in the conference. And because you're looking like September 27th, if they're trying to make BYU and Colorado a rival, which there's actually the possibility of as long as they play exciting games and Dion's there, which adds so much spice to it. They go, well, let's do that. Let's do that on the 27th of September.
Yeah.
My only thought is maybe they think that'll be another rematch in the championship game, which is so much better than playing it on the 23rd of November and then turning around and playing
again in the championship game.
So that was one thought that came out. It's like, all right, if those are two heavyweights, like Iowa State and Kansas State are playing in August,
right?
Have at it.
Yeah.
And then maybe you meet again in the ring later in the season.
Yeah. Hey, Arizona State, who's got a bunch of talent coming back, and Baylor, who played strong down the stretch in the season and has a bunch coming back, they're going to meet on September 20th.
So that was leaked out.
Yeah, that's another leak. West Virginia at Central Florida. That's October 18th. That's another leak.
And that's the UCF coach's Scott Frost is back.
That's right.
Back at UCF.
That's a big news in college football period.
Yeah.
Because they were the last time UCF was contending for a national championship, Scott Frost was the coach. So they claim a national championship during that time, I think.
I think they have a banner.
So Oklahoma State at Texas Tech, October 25th.
Who knows is Oklahoma State going to be the worst team in the league again? I can't imagine.
I can't believe they were last year with the talent they had.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Seems like an aberration. We'll see. And Texas Tech really came on last year and played good football.
So then Arizona State and Iowa State, that game was leaked for November 1st. That's the rematch of the Big 12 championship game. And so that'll be interesting. Iowa State's got BYU and Arizona State in Ames this year.
Yeah.
We don't know when BYU's coming, but I can't imagine it's anywhere near November 1st because of this mega game they've put there with Arizona State.
And remember, we announced, I think, last week, because this game was already announced, that Iowa State was going to play Kansas State on August 23rd. And that's like, that's like someplace else. Right?
Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah, that's in Dublin, Ireland.
So that one's like, well, that one was on the last Saturday.
Right.
So now that they're putting it in August, maybe that frees up the window for BYU-Utah to be the last Saturday. Right. We shall see. Hey, Rick from Tokyo checking in. Said, Dave, I bought your book, C is for Cougar, for my newborn grandson. Thanks for helping me bring him up right. You are welcome. And it's good to have Japan in the house.
Yeah, and so Rick, our question for you, and you can answer back on the chat, is you and Corey Yoshimura get together ever over there? Two biggest Cougs in Tokyo?
It's a small city.
Yeah.
They might be able to cross paths.
Who knows? They might be in the same ward. We don't know.
There's Tucson, Arizona. Neil's in with us. And I believe that's David from McGrath, Alberta, home of Hattie Ogden, Jimmy Balderson, Phil Tolstrup, and Tom Karen of the NIT squad in the 50s.
There you go.
Good to have Alberta, Canada with us tonight. All right, so we're just moving around the world here on the Wise Guys. So let's roll out what we know is ahead for BYU.
Yeah, so we talked about that Colorado game, and then non-conference is already set, right? We talked about that last week, but we'll throw it out there again. August 30th, Portland State's at BYU.
Yeah.
So that's the opener, August 30th. September 6th, Stanford's coming to BYU.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that's a Power 5 game, Power 4 game. Stanford's an ACC team. And then September 20th, BYU's going to go on the road to the East Coast and play at East Carolina. It's a long road trip, and East Carolina's always like, I don't know, I feel like they're just scrappy and always have a ton of team speed.
That's interesting now because they're going to go from the East Coast and then they play next in Boulder.
Right.
So if there was ever a trap game in the history of BYU football, is it not now East Carolina?
Yeah.
Ahead of the Colorado game in Boulder. That'll be an interesting couple of weeks there. You notice September 13th is open. And so they could stick a bye there or a Big 12 game.
Yeah, it could be a Big 12 game. I think, don't you think it's best like they have a bye after like game 5 or 6?
Yeah, you get 2 byes. Remember, you get 2 byes now. I wouldn't mind.
Go 4 games and have a bye. Would you want one on the 13th?
I do. I wouldn't want one as a fan, but you're going the 20th and 27th, and you're going to stick 2 more. I could see them putting a bye there because you get 2. But ideally, you'd want that bye maybe in October.
Yeah, 4 games in, 5 games in.
Maybe the first conference weekend, maybe they give BYU a bye.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So we do know that Utah, TCU, UCF, and West Virginia are coming to town.
Right.
Arizona, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Texas Tech, along with Colorado, are going to get BYU coming to their town. Therein lies the drama for tomorrow morning.
Right.
When we wake
you're going to find out when and where and how the buys fit in and all of that.
I have an article in the Deseret News today on the wait is almost over, so the longer wait can begin.
Right.
The wait of when are these games, and then the long wait of waiting until they get here. Remember, Utah and BYU played on November 9th last year. And so we wonder, well, where would they put it this time? It was a disservice to put it on the 9th, on the end of an eventful day.
Right.
Utah wasn't very good. BYU was in the top 10, and they still played at 8:20 at night. The last 5 BYU-Utah games have started after 8 o'clock.
How about a day game on Thanksgiving weekend? How about that?
That would be fantastic. Maybe after Michigan, Ohio State, let Fox put BYU-Utah on. They're going to put a Big 12 game on. Let them do that. Yeah. I don't think Arizona State is anywhere near BYU-Utah.
Would they dare put BYU-Utah on the 13th of September?
I don't know. I can't imagine them doing that. They like to respect rivalries. That would be a total disrespect.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
Stick it anywhere in October would be disrespect.
Yeah.
Put it on the day when the rivalries are being played.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you.
And that's that last Saturday. But man, the fact that they put it there on the 9th last year leads me to believe that they may just stick that anywhere.
Yeah, at least it has to be in November. But we'll know tomorrow. And remember, you can get complete coverage of that at 10 a.m. on BYU Sports Nation tomorrow. Are you hosting tomorrow?
No, I got Thursday, Friday.
Thursday. I'm on tomorrow.
You're on tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, good. I think that the intriguing thing about the Utah BYU game, the fact that they stuck it early in November, and BYU finished with Houston, and Utah finished with UCF. That's how the last weekend came.
Wasn't good.
And I don't care if Utah wasn't any good or not. They still played a thriller with BYU, and that still should be at the end of November. Houston shouldn't be BYU's swan song, and neither should Central Florida be Utah's.
No.
We'll see. Maybe the Big 12 is going, I don't know, Arizona State, let's put them on the last Saturday. Well, Arizona wasn't any good. Arizona State had a reason to win that game. It was a blowout, but BYU-Utah's got more national appeal than Arizona State.
Yeah.
You got to find a window. If you're going to put them there, find a window for all 3 of them.
But do you put all of the natural rivals on that same weekend?
Well, Iowa State, Kansas State's already off, right?
Right.
So now they're in August. So what are you going to replace it with? I don't love that hey, we'll just put it at 8:30 at night on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, because everyone freezes to death.
Right.
So there's advantage of playing it early. I get that, but put it earlier in the day. We haven't had a day game in this rivalry
in a long time.
I don't know. We haven't even had a late November game. We've had one in 14 years. Yeah. That was in 2018. And I think for a day game, we got to go back further than that. Maybe even I think it might be the 3:00 start when Max Hall threw a touchdown in overtime, and we won in 2009.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And it still ended up in the dark because it was 3:00 and it was dark by 6, and we went into overtime.
How about a 1 p.m. kick Thanksgiving Saturday? That's all I ask for.
Is that asking too much?
That's all I ask for.
I think we should be in the game for that. Well, we'll find out, and then next week we'll dispute.
Right. We'll talk about
what happened, or we'll congratulate the Big 12. Spring practice starts later this month. Kickers Will Farron and Sam Vanderhaar and their wives joined us last week. It was awesome. awesome. You can see that interview again at wiseguys.com, or you can read about it at Deseret.com. They were great.
Yeah, and I love it when the players bring their spouses and you can get a little bit more insight from the spouse about who they really are, right? And that was fun. I love the fact that Will's wife tells us about how much more she freaks out about when he has a big kick than he does.
Yeah.
And then Sam's wife admitted that she's way more freaked out when he's holding than when he's punting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
cool.
I love that. That was great insight from them.
Hey, Michael Zimmerman's thrown out a challenge on the live stream tonight. He said, I want to see all 50 states commenting on here.
I 100% agree with you, Michael.
And then Mikey comes in, or Mikkel comes in and says, hey, checking in from Houston, Texas.
There we go.
And now here's Yo Bros, howdy from Leander, Texas, from Boyd. So how about all 50 states? Should we do that tonight?
Let's go for that. We've been on, how many continents is our max over?
I think 5.
So we've been on 5 continents before.
Already tonight we're in Canada and Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah, so we've been in Asia and Canada and the United States.
So keep them coming.
3 continents covered, but let's see how many states we can get in tonight. Cochrane, Georgia. How about that?
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you, Triple Play.
First college team for a young guard, Kevin Young. It all started right here, folks.
That's right. He's right. So we got Texas and Georgia in the house.
Awesome.
So Arizona's in the house. California's in the house.
You know what was
Nebraska's
announced?
in the house.
There's Montana, the Mackeys. You know what was announced since we were last together is the Alumni Game is March 28th, 6 o'clock Mountain Time on BYU TV. At Lavelle Edwards Stadium, moving it back to the stadium.
Yeah. It would have been there last year, but it's just under construction.
Yeah,
so.
and it was kind of unique at the old Provo High Stadium, which is now BYU property. Raleigh, North Carolina is in. There's Westlake Village, California. Awesome. So March 28th, we don't know who the quarterbacks are. I texted Max Hall. I said, Max, are you in? I'm still waiting for him to respond.
He came out of the last game healthy. He didn't the year before.
Yeah.
So he was healthy.
Yeah.
I would think that Max and John would always be in.
They should be
until they can't do
and
it.
We'll see if Steve's going to be in.
But they're both coaching and training quarterbacks, so they should. I'd like to see Steve and Ty be in. I'd like to see Steve be in again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the long shot one that I think would be so fun is just have Jim come throw a few balls. Jim McMahon.
That would be good.
So fun. You know what? Gifford Nielsen's back.
Let's get him
from
in.
Serving in the area presidency in
He's
Africa.
playing golf. He can move around.
We saw him in the parking lot of the golf course. He looks fit. Let's have Giff throw a few balls. Can't rush the quarterback, so no worries.
We're going to ask Dennis Pitta and Austin Collie if they're in.
Yeah, we'll ask them tonight.
When they come up tonight. But anyway, circle that on the 28th of March at the stadium. It's a lot of fun to just come out and hang out, and on BYU TV if you can't get here.
That's right. Hey, Steve Marks is in the house from Olympia, Washington.
Okay.
So Washington's in the house now.
There's Ridgecrest, California, another California. Okay, we're going for all 50 states tonight because that's how we roll here.
Hey, let's talk about Tanner Wall.
Yeah.
Because what an amazing accomplishment. Tanner Wall was. Have we had Tanner on the show?
Not yet.
Oh, we need to get Tanner on the show. He's really, really fun. And I bet he'll bring his wife too. Well, I'll ask if we can get Tanner. So Tanner was named first team academic All-American. He's the first BYU football player to win the honor in 15 years. Last guy was Brian Correa. Remember Brian had such a great game against Oklahoma running the football?
Right.
So we're going all the way back to, Belo's team and those guys. And so that's a long time ago. The last safety or defensive back to win the award? Kellen Fowler, like in 2000,
Is that right?
In 2007.
Man. Well, congrats to Tanner Wall. Former Cougar Ryan Rico is relaxing after a big season, celebrating a record-setting year as Cincinnati's punter. 49.1 yards per punt. That's best in Bengals history. Sorry, former Coug Lee Johnson. Move over. His 80-yard punt during the season is the longest in Cincinnati history. How about that first impression?
Unbelievable. And you want to know what? We said before he ever went, this guy's going to get on with the team, and then he's going to punt forever as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because he has one of the strongest legs in the game, period. And, and he's getting to punt a lot at Cincinnati this last year.
For a while, he was the Bengals' offensive weapon.
Yeah, that was it.
It's like, let's hurry to get to fourth down so he can come in and kick it back.
Yeah.
So congrats to Ryan.
Way to go, Ryan. How about BYU's winning history? So Ryan's starting a historical run, we hope, with Cincinnati. But BYU, in the last 50 years of college football, BYU is number 9 with the most wins, 435 wins. That's 1 win ahead of Florida and 1 win behind Florida State. Think about, and here's the names that are on that list. But let's go through the top 9.
Okay.
Ohio State's number 1 with 481. It's Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Penn State, Nebraska, Florida State, BYU. You want to talk about a list of blue bloods?
That makes us a blue blood, doesn't it?
I would think so. And now being in a Power 4 conference, because it's not Power 5 anymore, Power 4 conference, and playing the way they did, tying for a regular season championship, they've got phenomenal history. They got a national championship. They've won every major award, Heisman Trophy, Doak Walker, a couple of Outland trophies. You name it, they've got it. And then when you just look at flat out wins over the last 50 years, that's impressive.
That's awesome.
BYU's in rarefied air right there.
Hey, Perry's in from Illinois, so check Illinois
Perry,
off.
have you been in before? I don't remember Illinois being in before. Maybe Perry's been there and just hasn't piped up. But
I read where the Cubs were expected to win the National League Central. That would be big.
Please do not get your hopes up, because I hate when you're so disappointed.
They're reporting next week.
I hate it.
Baseball is just about here, so we'll see. We'll see how the Cubs
I can't have Dave out on the ledge at the end of the season because his Cubbies haven't come
for
through.
the love. We'll do something back there, but they got some things together. The ACC is going to stay together,
right?
Looks like, for a while. Remember, they were on the cutting edge of
everybody's going to
falling
steal
off the
their
edge.
guys. Florida State was going to leave. Clemson was going to leave.
So ESPN extended their TV contract with the ACC through 2036. Now, Florida State can squawk all they want, and Clemson, but the deal should put realignment on the back burner for a while.
Because remember, ACC has a grant of rights type deal with their institutions, and with the television deal now extending through 36, I would think, and I haven't read the small details, but one of the things that was keeping them together up to this point was, if you leave, tough. We still have your television rights.
Yeah.
So go ahead. ESPN still has the rights, and we still get the money.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't leave.
Right.
You can't leave under those.
So this should set them up for some pretty good security at this point. So,
all right, Dennis and Austin are just moments away. Before we get to them, let's jump into basketball real quick.
Yeah.
Because a lot of buzz on the stream. Of course, it's a big game tomorrow night. BYU and Arizona. It's been a long, long time since Arizona's actually played a game here. But the Cougars are now 15-6. They're 6-4 in the Big 12. 4 straight victories. And they defeated UCF in Orlando 81-75. On Saturday, I tell you what, that turned into a football game.
Oh, man.
And I thought, man, this blows, the way the officials are letting this. And then I watched Houston and Texas Tech, and that one was worse. And I just thought, okay, this is what it is.
So my dad, who's going to be 90 in February, watched a lot of sports over his lifetime. He used to officiate basketball. He calls me in the middle of that game, and he goes, "This is ugly basketball."
Yeah.
He goes, "Why are they letting them maul each other out front?" He goes, "Every time somebody comes off of a ball screen, they literally smack them and they don't call it." I was like, "Dad, you're right."
He's exactly
I'm
right.
like, that's how they officiate in the Big 12. They let them do this. Sometimes I think that hurts the Big 12 in the tournament.
Yeah.
Because they get in the tournament and it's not all like, and all of a sudden they get in foul trouble early.
They're like, hey, I should be able to cross-check that guy.
They literally just allow the guards in this league to be super aggressive, get their hands all over people, reach, put their, and it sometimes makes for some ugly basketball. Very physical. This league prides itself in being physical, but sometimes I think they let them cross over the line.
Richie Saunders had 22, made 6 3-pointers. Mawat Mag, 19 points, 5 assists.
That was his best game.
It was magnificent. Keba Keita, one of his best games, 10.7 boards, 2 huge blocks in the last minute.
Well, BYU was ready to choke down the stretch. When you're ahead in the game, especially on the road, you know you're going to have to close the game out from the free throw line. They're going to foul you.
Yeah.
You're going to get to the line. You make free throws, and you just eliminate their ability to come back. And BYU made 1 of 4. But Keba just erased those mistakes on the other end twice in a row.
Yeah.
BYU comes up, they make the first of a 1-and-1 and then miss the second. They get a rebound out quick and come down on a fast break, and Keba just literally swats it off the glass. Then they go down and miss 2 free throws. And they come back down the court, and Keba has an even more impressive block where he swats it off the glass, and then got in a little discussion. Keba Keita closed the game out on defense. Instead of BYU closing the game out from the free throw line, Keita closed it out on defense.
And he had a couple of big free throws himself.
Thank goodness for Keba Keita. He was my MVP of the last 2 minutes. Without question.
I think you're right. Yegor Dem and Cannon Catchings combined for 3 points. Life on the road's hard for freshmen. And they were they were in trouble right from the start. They got up in them, rattled them. The game was going so fast, and I thought a wise Kevin Young had his veterans out there a little longer.
Yeah.
In that environment, and BYU wins at 81-65.
My favorite thing about that is BYU struggled to shoot the ball on the road, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They came alive. They shot 48.3% from the field on the road and 43.8% from three. They held Central Florida to 37% from the field and 30% from three in their home building. They shot themselves to a win, and they played some really good defense. I didn't like the 17 turnovers.
No, and I'll tell you what,
sloppy in the first half.
When
especially.
they go to the free throw line, it makes me nervous.
Yeah, and
there's no one on the team that doesn't make you nervous at the line.
BYU's minus 10 in points off of turnovers in that game. How they won the game is just they just kind of outshot them. That 11 of 19 from the free throw line, 57.9%. No.
Nell hit some big shots. Richie was great.
Richie hit shots. Nell hit shots. Mag hit shots. Kaba hit free throws, and they played good defense. And as a team, 48% from the field on the road is really good.
Yeah.
And that's where they'd been struggling on the road, is to shoot the basketball. They did not struggle in this game.
So back on Tuesday, they beat Baylor in overtime, 93-89. On this night at the Marriott Center, Catchings played a perfect game.
Yeah, unbelievable.
8 for 8, 4 for 4 from three, 23 points, career high. And Opta Stats on X tweeted out, Catchings is the only Division I freshman this century to go 8 for 8 or better from the field, 4 for 4 from the three, and 3 for 3 or better from the foul line in a single game. That's it. The only one this century was Kenan Catchings. And you saw him basking in the glory, and then he went on the road and didn't score, and it was like, there's real life. That's like real life.
Unbelievable. How about the fact that Conor McGregor was at the game?
Oh, that was cool.
And he goes over and leads the Rock in a cheer. The place was just
raw energy. Especially
in that second half when BYU kind of got rolling, playing great D, and knocking down shots. The place was just going nuts. And at home, BYU has been shooting the ball well. Yep. And they did again. 55% from the field, 38% from three. And they were 81% from the free throw line in that game. So I was happy that they took that and it translated to shooting well on the road, except for not from the free throw line. Here's the thing that surprised me. If a stat that popped out to me, Baylor's known for being this great defensive team. BYU had 9 steals, Baylor had 4. And just 10 turnovers for BYU in that game. So there's a couple of things that they did. They almost did nothing wrong against Baylor in that game. The good news is they went out and ground out a win on the road against Central Florida, and there's some things that they can fix. So right. I loved last week. What a week of basketball.
Baylor turned around and beat Kansas.
And by the way, BYU's never won 4 games in a row in the Big 12, ever. Everybody's like, oh, we seem like we're younger and we're just behind last year. No, they're ahead of last year.
Here's the Big 12 standings. Houston's first, tied with Arizona at 9-1. Texas Tech is third at 8-2. Iowa State's 4 at 7-3. And there's BYU, tied for fifth with Baylor and Kansas, all at 6-4 in a 16-team league. Tied for fifth.
And the cool thing is we're going into last week, everybody's thinking, well, BYU, they're on the bubble or they're off the bubble because they just don't have any quad 1 wins. Yeah. They get 2 quad 1 wins last week. They got a chance to get a quad 1 win on. They have lots of opportunities now in league play coming up, but they're 2-2 in quad 1 now.
That's good.
Which is good.
Yeah.
And quad 2, they're 3-2 now. And quad 3, they're 1-0. And quad 4, who really cares? Right. Who really cares? You really care about
the 3 quads.
Quad 1 and quad 2. You want to be undefeated in quad 3 if you can. And they got a chance to get some quad 1 wins at home and on the road.
It's almost like they're all quads from here on out. Wisconsin's in the house. Great to have you with us on the Wise Guys. There's another state. Check that one off.
That's right.
Pleasant Hill, California in here as well.
Yeah. And Mark Johnson said, just imagine what this team would look like with like 70% plus free throws and 10 less turnovers. Yeah. Well, that was them in the Baylor game. That's what they would look like. They would beat quad 1 teams is what they would do.
The tournament hopes look like this as of today. They're number 33 in the net. They're number 31 in Ken Palm. And Joe Lunardi has them now as among the last 4 in, as opposed to the last 4 out.
The good news is they have a really good chance to make a statement here in the next couple of weeks with the schedule coming up. So, in the AP Top 25, you've got Houston at number 5, and what a great defensive team Houston is. Iowa State's number 8, Texas Tech is number 13, Kansas is 16, and Arizona, who's coming in tomorrow night for that 9 o'clock tip, is number 20. So chance tomorrow night to get a quad one win against a ranked opponent.
So the Wildcats 11-5, 9-1. BYU 15-6, 6-4. 9 p.m. Mountain Time. Sorry, East Coast, gonna be a late one. ESPN2. The pregame on BYU TV starts at 8:00 Mountain Time. Series is 20-19, so win tomorrow for BYU can even it up.
Yeah.
After all these years, they haven't met since 2010. You and I were on the call when they beat. BYU beat Arizona 87-65 up at the Delta Center.
Sure were doing that.
Jimmer had 33. That was the year after he went down and put 49 in Tucson. I was going to say,
my favorite Arizona BYU game is not the one that we called in the Delta Center, although that was fun. It was when Jimmer just blew up the McHale Center.
Yeah.
Is that still the highest?
They gave him a standing ovation down there.
Is that still the highest points ever scored by an opponent?
It was 14. So, 49 it has to be.
I think it's the highest by opponent in the history of the McHale Center.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Arizona BYU game ever.
That was something else.
Was Jimmer our guest last week? Yeah. Our guest last week just blew them up. That was fun.
It's the first time Arizona has played a game in Provo since 1998. 26 years. Caleb Love was ejected in Saturday's game against Arizona State after a flagrant 2 technical foul.
Yeah.
So there's some question about his status for tomorrow night, because when you get a flagrant 2, sometimes there's you don't get to play the next
first
game.
half type of a thing.
Kind of like in football, when you get a flagrant for fighting or whatever, you have to sit out a half or sit out the next game. We saw that with Darius Laster in the bowl game. No ruling that we've seen from the league. And Love's the key guy. He's their leading scorer, 16.2. He's also the Big 12 player of the week, despite the ejection. And so we'll keep an eye on that, but we'll see.
Yeah, this guard line for Arizona is really skilled, really talented. Caleb leads the way, 6'4". He's a senior, fifth-year senior guard. Like, he's played a bunch of games. And so he's a leader. They need him. Then they got Jaden Bradley, a 6'3" guard. He's a junior. He's a shooter, averaging 11.4 a game, but 39% from 3 and nearly 50% from the field. That's a guy you can't leave to go help. And then they got KJ Lewis, who's just a sophomore, but another 6'4", really athletic guard who's been good, averaging 10 points a game. So this guard line, they're very good defensively. They're all skilled offensively. They all rebound from the guard line. This is a big challenge for BYU tomorrow night, especially if Caleb Love plays. The guards for BYU are going to have to play great.
So it's like the Super Bowl Tuesday night, and then it's the Super Bowl on Sunday. Chiefs and Eagles, 4:30 Mountain Time on Fox. Andy Reid, the former Coug, can become the first coach in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. We invite you to check out our Wise Guys interview with Andy at wiseguys.com. Our 2 guests are ready. Before we bring them in, Cougars with the most Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Might surprise you. We've talked about it before, but it was a whole year ago since we last did that.
We'll remind you.
Number 1 remains Tom Homo.
As a player and coach.
And as a coach. But Andy Reid now is pulled into a tie.
Right.
Because he's got 3 as a head coach, and he has 1 as an assistant with Green Bay.
Right.
So now it's no longer Tom on top by himself. It's now Tom and Andy with 4 total rings.
And Steve Young, 3, and an MVP, Super Bowl MVP, to go with the 3.
Yeah.
So as a player, there's a bunch of guys tied with 3. Because you also have Bart Oates, my old center, with 3. And he did it with 2 teams. With the Giants and the Niners, right, and a Pro Bowler. 46 different Cougars have combined to win 47 Super Bowl rings, including one of our guests right here, Dennis Pitta.
Our guests tonight are 2 of the biggest stars in BYU football history who have a history in the Super Bowl. Austin Collie caught 6 passes for 66 yards from Peyton Manning in the 2010 Super Bowl where his Colts lost to the Saints. Dennis Pitta caught 4 passes for 26 yards and a touchdown in the 2013 Super Bowl when the Ravens beat the 49ers. A pleasure to have both of them on the Wise Guys tonight. Austin, did you sneak out of the house and you're in the garage in the car where no one could find you or what?
No, just waiting out here, just building the next generation of Cougar athletes.
Oh, nice. Are you basketball coaching tonight, Austin?
I'm not. I got my boys in here training at P1 Performance. Getting a little training session before the basketball practice.
All right, that's cool.
Beautiful.
DJ's going to bring in Dennis. Dennis, where is your Super Bowl ring like right now?
I'm wearing it. No, I'm kidding. I'm not.
Are you guys both in your car tonight? We want you both in my car.
Hang on.
Can I just say something?
Dennis is sideways.
I immediately regret joining this podcast, given the fact that I know Dennis is going to spend the whole time talking about how he got to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. Hey, Austin, how many times have you won the Super Bowl, Austin, right? So let's just go ahead and nip that in the butt
All right,
now.
let's ask you this. Austin,
should we just acknowledge that he won one and then just put that behind us then?
Yeah. Great. You won one. That's awesome. Congratulations.
How many times, Austin, has Dennis showed you his Super Bowl ring?
You want to know what? Surprisingly, I don't think I've ever seen Dennis's Super Bowl ring. I think I make it very clear I do not want to see his Super Bowl ring as an effort to not tank me.
Dennis, have you ever shown it to him? Have you sent him a picture? What?
Yeah. Listen, I wasn't even going to talk about the fact that I've won a Super Bowl and he hasn't, but Austin brought it up. And, I think I don't even think it was worth mentioning, but now, unfortunately he's done the dirty work. So
do you wear that thing much, Dennis? Do you wear it around ever?
No, I never wear it. So to answer your first question, no, I don't have it on. It's in a safe in my house. I don't wear it very often. And honestly, I only bring it out when people ask to see it. And so, they ask to see it and I kind of take a glance at it. I'm like, that is kind of cool. But
why not, Dennis? Why don't you, that's an awesome thing. Is it that they're so gaudy and why don't you show your Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, it's a little big. When I first, size wise and big on my finger. When I first had it sized, I think my knuckle was a little bit inflamed from the season and had a jam finger. And so now it fits really loose, but it's not something that I would wear around a whole lot. I like to look at it every now and then when somebody comes over and asks for it, but that's about it. Austin's never asked to look at it, so he's never seen it.
Are you guys going to ask me how many times I wear my AFC Championship ring?
Yeah. Do you ever wear that, Austin? Do you wear your
Austin,
AFC Championship ring?
I was just about to tee that up for you. I was going to say, Austin's got an AFC Championship ring, though. He'd love to show you guys.
All right. When do you bring that one out?
Yeah. Do you show that? Do you wear it, Austin?
No. You want to know why? Because the day that we got it, Peyton came up to me and he said, if I ever see that on your hand, we're going to have problems.
Hey, you know what? These guys have much greater success, but I do have a national championship ring.
Oh, here we go.
And where it comes in the most handy, is it's so big and it's shaped like a dish. When I'm having trouble getting reception with my television, if I place it on top of the TV, we seem to get better reception. So that's the only time mine ever comes out is when we do
the diamonds seem to bring in.
And
the
unlike
signal.
Dennis, I didn't get skinnier. I got fatter, so it doesn't fit on my finger very good. So
hey. We had an over-under on how many minutes it would take for Blaine to mention his national championship ring.
What was it? Who won?
And you hit the under pretty hard. So
hey, welcome to my
shockingly.
world. Welcome to my world. All right, guys. First of all, we salute both of you because you played in the Super Bowl, and most human beings never do. What's the week like leading up to the big game? What was it like for you, Dennis, on a Monday heading in? The game's still like a year away because it's not till Sunday. But what are these weeks like?
It's a long week, to be completely honest. It's a lot of media. I think the focus is more on the media attention and all the distractions that surround it than it is the actual football, which can be very difficult, to be completely honest. I mean, we were practicing. Coincidentally enough, the Super Bowl's in New Orleans this year, and that's where the Super Bowl was in 2012 when we won it. But, I know the venue well out there, and we actually practiced not at the Saints facility. The 49ers got to practice at the Saints facility and have all of the resources and everything that they have there. We were at some high school, which I can't even recall the name of at this point, and it was just kind of a crappy practice field. We had to bus in and out from our hotel and kind of do all of our locker room stuff at the hotel. It was incredibly inconvenient going to practice every day. And then every night, you have big media obligations. Tuesday night's the big night where you have all the media. You're kind of up on a podium. And it's crazy because, you have typical media when you're going throughout the regular season and even through the postseason. A lot of, national people with ESPN and all that kind of stuff. And then you have all your local guys as well. But you get to the Super Bowl and it's insane how many media outlets are just flocking to the host site, because I did interviews with the Food Network. I did interviews all kinds of media outlets that you wouldn't think had anything to do with football and don't have anything to do with football to be completely honest. And so it kind of, you start to realize how big this game is. Mm-hmm. It's way bigger than just football at this point. It is a, global spectacle, and you really feel that throughout the week.
Before I ask Austin, I want to acknowledge that Kay Porter's in from Qatar. Yeah. So we're on 4 continents. You guys are being listened to and watched on 4 continents tonight, and I have lost count of how many states.
Cougar fans are everywhere.
That's pretty cool. Austin, where was the site for your Super Bowl experience, and was your week similar to Austin or similar to Dennis, or were there some things that were different?
Our practice facilities, we're at the Dolphins. We were there in Miami. Mm-hmm. So we, as far as inconvenience, we got to take advantage of the Dolphins practice facilities. In terms of the week leading up, to be honest with you, I hardly remember it. I just remember, being similar to what Dennis said, piggybacking on what Dennis said. The media was nonstop. You were doing off the field activities too, like taking photos and doing pregame pressers and all that stuff. As a rookie, I was still trying to process even, being on the team at that point and having an actual being productive at that point in time in my career and seeing what the fruits of that kind of came to be. So I just remember my family got to hang out by the pool all week. Okay. Yeah. And they were sipping on, pina coladas and having food by the pool, all expenses paid, which is something that you're not told when you enter the league, is that, hey, it's pretty standard for the family to, for you to pay for everybody in the family, both in-laws and immediate family, to come over. So any money that you do earn going to the Super Bowl is pretty much a wash.
Yeah.
It was a whirlwind, man. And I could barely remember, anything happening up to the game. I just remember just constantly nose down in film sessions with the offense constantly. And then, going out at night, some of the nights with some of the guys, just kind of as a bonding type of experience.
Dennis, what was the night before the game like for you? What did you do? How do you spend those last few hours?
So I can distinctly remember the night before the Super Bowl. Now, keep in mind, this was how long ago? 12 years ago now?
Yeah.
And almost 13. And so you don't remember a ton. I mean, it is, like Austin mentioned, it's kind of a whirlwind of a week. And really, it's 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl between the championship games and the Super Bowl. But that first week is very normal. And you're at your own facility. You have normal practices. You kind of have the normal media routine and all that kind of stuff. And that feels very normal. Then you go to the host city, and it's a complete whirlwind. And so many distractions, so much going on. But fortunately, the night before is very much like every other game. You're in a hotel room. You have dinner there in the ballroom, and then you meet as a team. You have position meetings or offensive meetings, whatever it may be. And the one thing I remember about that night, and I remember nothing else about it, is Ray Lewis got up in front of the team. And Ray Lewis spoke often to the team, but it wasn't like something he did all the time. It wasn't before every game. It wasn't. But he got up before this game, and he had some interesting words for us. I'm not going to totally repeat them because it's not incredibly appropriate.
Thank you.
This is a PG show, yeah.
You know what? I think the people in Qatar would want to hear
exactly.
Ray was awesome because if you've been around Ray, you know how passionate he is about football. Whether the message makes complete sense or not, that's a different story. But the passion and the authenticity is certainly there. And so he got up in front of the team, and he had just come off bicep surgery. And he had missed a big portion of the regular season. We got into the postseason. He was wearing an arm brace pretty much the whole time. And he kind of came out right before that postseason run and said, "This is my last ride." And so we were all doing it for Ray. Anyways, we get into that last meeting, and he proceeds to tell us all the steps he took to get to this point to be able to play in this game. And his singular focus was to win the Super Bowl. Everything he did, from his rehab to the things he ate, to he even mentioned to the women that he hung out with. Okay, and I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
Everything was to get to this point. And the one thing that he said that I won't forget, and that I actually repeat often, is, what would you be willing to sacrifice to feel that confetti hit you in the face? And I think that's an incredible line, because there's in football, the ultimate goal is obviously to win the Super Bowl, right? And so what would you sacrifice to achieve that ultimate goal? Because we were on the precipice of being able to do that. We were on the footsteps of being able to win the biggest game, in all of football. And so what were we willing to sacrifice in the next 24 hours to be able to come away victorious and feel that confetti fall from the rafters? And fortunately, we were able to do that. But to answer your question, that's what I remember most about the night before. And it was very typical.
Yeah.
There's always usually a pump-up speech. Typically, it's Coach Harbaugh. This one was Ray. And the message was very clear. And I think after that, we were all kind of had that singular focus and kind of knew we needed to play our best in that come tomorrow.
Awesome. Austin, your day was February 7th, 2010. That's 15 years ago. Rick Platts points that out on the chat. He's like, can you believe it's been 15 years? I can't believe it's been 15 years since Austin played in the Super Bowl. What was the morning of the Super Bowl like? Because that game's not till later in the day. And I know during the regular season, you guys sometimes don't play games until later. We got this whole day leading up to this huge event. What was Super Bowl Sunday like for you, Austin, as you prepared to go and play and be a major contributor in the game?
I think I was so naive to everything up to that point. I think, like Dennis said, everything from 24 hours till kickoff, everything was just like it was throughout the entire season, right? From the pregame prep to the morning walkthrough to the night meetings, and then just going and as you're getting ready to play, you don't want to deviate from what you've been doing. You want to stay in that schedule that you've had all week, right, or all year. It shouldn't be any different, and it was no different for me. I think the first time it hit me the first time it dawned on me that I was actually at the Super Bowl was when I first came out on the field for pregame warmups. You could feel the energy. Like, it was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Like, you could just tell, there was double the media personnel on the field, right? The guys that you're playing with were far more dialed in, intense, whatever you want to call it. You could just tell there was a different. I remember going up to Peyton, doing our little pregame deal, and him giving me a little bit different of a look, right? And so I think anybody that's going into that game is thinking to themselves that they got to keep things consistent. They've got to keep things just as they have the entire season. And then, not to get too overwhelmed with the situation, right? At least that's what I tried not to let that get to me, not to let the experience get to me, not to let the atmosphere get or the environment get to me. But I will say, like, right when I came out, man, you could definitely it was strong enough that I had to pay attention to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you bet. Former Cougars and Super Bowl participants Dennis Pitta and Austin Collie, good friends, and glad to have them back together here on the Wise Guys, our Super Bowl preview show, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. Dennis, we just heard from Austin on those feelings. What did it feel like for you when you walked out of the tunnel to play that game? Now the place is full and the TV cameras are on and you're coming out to the thunderous roar of the Ravens. What would that feel like?
Yeah, I mean, listen, once you take the field and you're coming out of that tunnel, it does feel like every other game. But to Austin's point, like, you get out there in warmups and it feels like a huge moment, because I remember I jogged out there and I'm looking to my right. Oh, there's Will Ferrell. Oh, there's Vince Vaughn. Oh, there's Jay-Z and Beyonce. Oh, and you know, there's oftentimes celebrities at NFL games down on the field or whatever, but the amount of celebrities that were there lining the sideline as you're warming up and doing all that, it's a little bit intimidating for sure. And that's when you it really sinks in. Hey, this is a pretty big game and there's going to be a lot of eyes on this one. Fortunately, though, that quickly dissipates as you run out for, you know, the national anthem and the coin toss. And once that game starts, it does feel like every other game you've played in, which is exactly what you want it to feel like. You don't want the whole time you be looking around like, oh, crap, there's that person. This is a big moment, because that will cripple you, obviously. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a very stressful game to play in.
Yeah.
And to back up really quickly, Austin made a really good point. One thing you don't realize when you make the Super Bowl is how much the Super Bowl is going to cost you. Because you think, oh, you're in the Super Bowl, you get as many tickets as you want, you can bring everybody out. Well, yeah, that's true, but those tickets all cost a hefty price. I think when I played in the Super Bowl, and I'm sure it's gone up since that point, but we had to pay $1,200 per ticket. I think you get, Austin, do you get 2 tickets free? You might get 2 free.
And you get 2 free and the rest you got to pay for.
Every ticket beyond that is, you know, over $1,000.
Yeah.
You're not getting a discount.
No, and then you're paying for flights, you're paying for a hotel stay for the entire week. I mean,
exactly.
It can add up, and rightfully so. It's something you should celebrate, right? Like you're bringing in the people that help get you there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for some of us, that's more than others, Dennis. But you know,
I don't know what you're referring to. Austin actually was in the stands for my Super Bowl. He was part of our group.
Nice.
Did you pay for his flight in his hotel though, Dennis?
No. Austin covered his own, because Austin gets you get access to tickets when you're a player.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, he had to pay for them, but he got access to 2 tickets.
That's nice of you, Austin, to go to Dennis'
That's
Super
a great
Bowl.
friend. Right?
Yeah.
You know,
well, he wanted to kind
do.
of see what it was like to actually win one, so he went to ours.
Oh, man. I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming.
Teed up so well.
Austin, would you concur with Dennis, Austin, that you it looked like you had a pretty routine game, had six catches, 66 yards. You were active in that game. Once the game started, were you like Dennis, where you just felt like, yeah, now it's just a game. Now I can block out all this stuff?
Yeah.
Or were there moments in the game where you were like, oh crap, I'm in the Super Bowl?
No. I think once all the pregame stuff was done, you know, the John Beck's calling me, by the way.
So wait, did John come to either of your Super Bowls? Did John
merge him in?
Did John come to any of yours?
John did not. John did not.
Yeah, don't take the call.
What kind of
then.
friend is he then? I wouldn't take the call.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Wasn't John in Miami at the time? What the heck?
John was in Miami. That's a great point. I'm going to ask about that.
Yeah, when you answer this after this, you need to remind him of that. And then we exposed him publicly on the air.
Austin, what's the funniest thing Peyton Manning told you during that game when you were out there?
The funniest thing he told me during that game?
Yeah.
I don't think it was funny, but I caught a screen and you know, thought I could get up an alleyway, and you know, he kind of gave me a very dry, like, that. Well, that was great, because I only got like 2 yards.
He just gave you a look?
High accountability from Peyton, right?
Yeah.
So
a look and a comment when I came back to the huddle, like, that was awesome. Like, thank you. Thanks for that 2-yard gain.
And you just say, yes, sir. I mean, you're a rookie out there.
Yeah, I don't say anything. Just head down in the huddle.
Yeah. Dennis, I've asked you this before. I think we asked you even on this show. When you caught that touchdown against the 49ers, did that feel like all the other touchdowns during the season, or did that one feel like a Super Bowl touchdown?
You know, it feels like all the other ones.
Yeah.
You're kind of so in the moment. And looking back, it's pretty cool to be able to say that you caught a touchdown, but in the moment, it's like, and honestly, most people like catch the ball and are aware of the situation and keep the ball and hand it to the equipment manager and make sure,
right,
you know, that they can get that ball back after the game and put it up on their mantle or whatever. None of that went through my mind, by the way. I caught that ball and I think I chucked that thing up into the air celebrated with teammates. I mean, I went full like Dirty Dancing mode on our center Matt Burke for whatever reason. We locked eyes and I'm kind of running at him, and I just kind of jump up in the air and he kind of holds me up just like that, last scene in Dirty Dancing, and I'm just kind of floating around. I've actually sent him that picture before, and we've laughed about it.
Nice.
And no, I was totally not in the moment in the Super Bowl. It did feel like every other touchdown, and I had no idea where the ball is. Fortunately, somebody had the wherewithal to go and grab it and get it, in the right spot, and I got it back, and it's encrypted now and all that. But like I said, it's just you get in that game, and it feels like every other game. Now, our Super Bowl was very different because if you can remember, the lights went out after halftime.
That's right. Yeah.
And so for 45 minutes, we sat on the field while old halogen lights were firing back up and turning back on. Mm. And so it was really bizarre to sit in the Super Bowl and literally sit on the turf. We're sitting on the turf kind of trying to stretch and stay warm and just kind of having like regular conversation. And it was a really bizarre moment in the biggest game of your life. And listen, we did not handle that moment well after we got back in the game because the 49ers, who we were demolishing at the time, we were up 28-6 when the lights went out.
Yeah.
They came storming back. We ended up winning, I think, 34-31.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we did not handle that moment after the delay better than the 49ers. I mean, they came out and they grabbed the momentum right away, and they made a lot of plays. In fairness, though, how that game played out was unusual because we got the ball towards the end of the half. I think we ended up punting. The 49ers ended the half with the ball. I'll say that. They ended the half with the ball, so our offense wasn't on the field. The normal halftime in the NFL is 10 minutes.
Right.
The Super Bowl halftime is over 30 minutes.
Right.
And so now you have extended halftime. We come back onto the field after halftime, and Jacoby Jones returns the opening kickoff of the second half. We were up 21-6. He returns the opening kickoff. We go up 28-6. And then the 49ers are on offense. They start to drive. They run a handful of plays, and the lights go out. And for 45 minutes now, we're sitting on the field. So it had been, I think somebody calculated it, it was over 2 hours from the time when our offense was on the field in the first half to when our offense took the field again in the second half.
Wow.
Which is unheard of.
Starting all over again.
In football.
Like completely starting over again.
Completely. And it showed. I mean, we came out and I think Ray Rice had a fumble. We were kind of, didn't have, our momentum. We were sputtering as an offense, and we just had no consistency in that second half. And we just had to kind of manufacture some plays here and there. Unfortunately, we were able to do enough to win that game. But man, I mean, it was a really unusual game at that. And who would have thought it would be on the biggest stage in any of our lives,
I'd completely forgotten about. So Austin, because Dennis brings up a good point, and this is a question I always have had. Because Dennis, you bring up this point that hey, halftime's like 30-something minutes. So Austin played in a normal, like the lights didn't go out in Miami and everything was normal, but you still had to sit in the locker room for like 35 minutes at halftime, which you never do. Not in high school, not in college, not in the pros. So Austin, what do you do in a normal 35-minute halftime while Beyonce? Well, last year it was Snoop and 50 Cent and all my boys were out there. But this huge, literally a concert's going on, and you're in the locker room for 35 minutes. What do you do during that time?
Instead of drinking one Diet Coke, you probably go through about 4 or 5.
And now Austin's saying that in jest. That's probably true, though. If you know anything about him and his Diet Coke consumption.
So you're in there pounding Diet Cokes. Who was the band? Who was the band, Austin, while you were in the?
Dude, I don't want to throw any band or any musician on the bus. I'm sure there's people. I don't want to be disrespectful, but by far the worst halftime guest of all Super Bowls ever, the Who.
The Who?
Was that your Super Bowl? The Who?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Someone had to tell me who they were.
Oh.
I was like, who? They're like, the who? I'm like, no, I'm asking you who.
Dennis, who was the halftime of yours before the 45 minute delay?
It was Beyonce.
Okay, so Beyonce. Yeah, pretty big time.
Let me just tell you, from a spectator standpoint, well, first off, me and my wife were already on our way out of the stadium because prior to that, Dennis's father-in-law worked for the FBI, and they were getting, and I'm sure throughout the week, the FBI and national security is getting, threats, terrorist threats all throughout the week. But, his father-in-law is fielding these terrorist threats of something's going to happen to the bridge, et cetera. So as soon as those lights went out, my wife grabbed me. She says, "We're out of here." Right. So we booked it down to the bottom. But after the halftime show, you start to put two and two together, and the production that went on to Beyonce's performance, there was, it wasn't a coincidence that whole place went up, and a few sparks, or not a few sparks, but a few what are they
fuses
called?
Went out.
A few fuses went out because it was something else, that whole production.
Oh, shoot. That's funny. Our pleasure to have former Cougars Austin Collie and Dennis Pitta on the Wise Guys, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wiseguys.com. Cougar fans all over the world watching tonight. A few more questions before they're going to reveal their top 5 Super Bowls of all time. So for work, I was at the Eagles-Patriots game a few years back in Minneapolis, and all the build-up and from the media side that you guys were talking about, I experienced for the first time. And then when the clock went to zeros, the biggest event in the world just ended, and then all of a sudden the talk was on the next year's Super Bowl. It was interesting to experience. Did you guys feel an emotional drop-off of the world's biggest game and accomplishment? As soon as that was over, it was, well, you know what? The 49ers are 10-1 odds to win next year, and then the focus becomes the next one. Was there that kind of a feeling, or did the euphoria linger for a while?
So I will say the one thing I remember, a bunch of our captains got up, similar to Ray Lewis. They had the same tenure, over a decade long in the league. Had multiple Super Bowl appearances amongst the lot of them. And I remember them saying, I believe it was Jeff Saturday said, nobody ever remembers the loser of the Super Bowl. And sure enough, literally the day after, it felt like that, right? Like the New Orleans Saints could have played anybody in the league for all that matter in that Super Bowl, because from that point on, it was like all anyone could talk about was the Saints, and then it was on to the next Super Bowl. And I tell people this all the time, when you're with that type of team, that year we went 14-0. We had a chance to go 16-0, but we all the starters sat the last 2 games in anticipation for the playoffs. And when you get done, you think, hey, we're going to be back here again, no problem, especially with this group of guys and this team. And then obviously, it gets decimated once Peyton has his neck injury and you never get an opportunity to go back there. But every year watching the Super Bowl, for me at least, gets tougher and tougher. And I did not anticipate that. Like, it gets harder and harder every single year I watch the Super Bowl, because I did get to see what it's like to win a Super Bowl after, watching Dennis, getting to hang out with Dennis and the Ravens, right? Seeing what it's like after the Super Bowl and just the production that goes on for that whole week. And then just kind of getting, being a part of that team that gets to cement, or leaves a fingerprint on the league forever, right? And getting to miss out on that. I think every year I start to realize that more and more and more.
And Dennis, you Austin just described a little bit of what it was like to win it. That's a pretty amazing emotional thing when the game ends. The emotion of the game itself drops off, but what's that like afterward? And how long does that go on? And how long is the partying and the celebrating? Is it weeks and weeks, or a few days, or what happens?
Well, it's really interesting to hear Austin talk about what he experienced from the perspective of a loser, because I just can't relate to that at all. And so I think it's really interesting to hear that perspective. So listen, and Austin was, got to come to the after party and all that kind of stuff. And it's, again, like the whole week, even after the game, it's kind of a whirlwind. I mean, once we won the game and that confetti's falling and, everybody's kind of celebrating on the field, and they bring this big podium out to the middle of the field and they, do all the stuff, award the Lombardi trophy and all that kind of stuff. You never get a moment, at least we didn't. You never get a moment as a team in the locker room to celebrate that win.
Oh, interesting.
Which I thought was unusual, because throughout the course of that postseason in particular, and any win, in the NFL or in team sports, the best moment is after that win in the locker room. Being able to celebrate with your teammates, you're all there together, you're listening to post-game speeches, you're all celebrating. That's one of the coolest moments in all of sports, being able to celebrate a win with your teammates in the locker room. We never got that experience. I can remember a couple weeks prior being in Denver's locker room. We had to travel to Denver. Peyton Manning, was coming off a great season. We ended up beating them in the last second with the Jacoby Jones Mile High Miracle, beat them in overtime, all that stuff. And that post-game celebration in the locker room was one of the coolest moments of my whole career, to be completely honest. And then we went to Foxborough and beat Brady, having just lost to them the year prior in the AFC Championship game. And that celebration in the locker room was equally as good, if not better. And then you get to the Super Bowl and you win it, and you're kind of celebrating a little bit on the field, but then you're getting pulled a bunch of different directions and doing interviews, which is not typical after a game. You're always clear in the field. You're getting in the locker room. You're celebrating that win. We never got that opportunity. And so you feel a little bit shortchanged in that moment, because you didn't have that locker room experience with your team, that intimate kind of celebration. And listen, it's cool in the Super Bowl. Your whole family comes down. Everybody comes down. But it just feels very chaotic, and you're getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. You don't get that intimate time with your team. And then right after that, you go shower, you change, and you pretty much bus off right to the post-game celebration party. Yeah. And I mean, those parties are awesome. And, the owners spend millions of dollars on those things. You have, all kinds of celebrities there and live performances and all that kind of stuff. And so that's a really cool moment to kind of, start to take it all in. And, but you're tired. And I remember being at that party, and I'm sitting here like, I just want to go to bed. Yeah. And I want to go home. I mean, it's late. You're in the wee hours of the night at this point. And then finally you get back to your hotel room super late. It's probably 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and you got to wake up. You have an 8 a.m. flight with the rest of the team. You got to get back to Baltimore. And so, I mean, I remember we're pulling our bags, getting ready to go on the team buses to go to the airplane. And I see guys just barely coming in for the night, and I'm like, I don't know how you guys are doing that. Yeah. But I mean, it's crazy. And you fly back. And then I think one of the coolest parts of winning the Super Bowl is the parade in the city, usually the next day. So for us, it was 2 days after. We won on Sunday. You're traveling Monday, and then Tuesday morning, you kind of all meet and you just cruise throughout the town, and you end up at the stadium. And you have this big ceremony with all your fans and the people there in Baltimore. That was a really, really cool experience. And that's one, of course, I will never forget. And I think of all of it, you miss out on the locker room part of it, but that is a really special moment.
I want to tag on to something that Austin said, because, and it's true for you as well. You think, man, this group of guys is unbelievable, and so we'll get back here again. We'll be back here, and we'll win another one. Or Austin's like, that's okay, we lost, we'll be back here. And it's not quite that easy, right? It's not as easy as everybody says it is. Yeah, here we go with Andy Reid. Our guy Andy, BYU guy, he's got a shot at NFL history this Sunday if he can win a third straight Super Bowl. For a BYU guy, a guy that's a member of our faith, our church, how cool is that he has a chance to do something that no coach in history has ever done, and that's win 3 Super Bowls in a row?
It's kind of obnoxious, right? I mean, to be that good and to be winning that much, right? I mean, no, it honestly, knowing how difficult it is. I mean, so the year that I was with New England, we went to the AFC Championship, lost to Peyton in Denver, and it's crazy how many things have to go right you could have the most talented team. I mean, take the Niners, right? I mean, untimely injuries kind of derailed their Super Bowl hopes and Super Bowl dreams. They've been right on the cusp for the past 4 years. Have made an effort to get there. A realistic chance of getting there. To the last 4 years, and because of untimely injuries, because things just the stars didn't align, they weren't able to get one under their belt. And so, with what he's been able to do, with what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do, and just continuing to do it, and it's unbelievable. And the other thing I'll say is, it's only going to become, over the next 2 to 3 years, the sick thing about it is when you've been in this situation that many times and you won and had success that many times, the confidence it gets you and the sense of being just untouchable they only become more dangerous as they continue to make these appearances and have this success. I mean, they find themselves in these situations where they're down and out maybe throughout the middle of the season or maybe the beginning of the season, but they always know in the back of their head they're gonna will it to to get to the peak of competition, right? Like they're going to get to the Super Bowl, and where most teams, they have any sort of challenge or they have any sort of unexpected hurdle throughout the season, many teams think, you know what, maybe next year we'll get them. Things didn't work out, but for them, man, it's just yeah, of course we're going to get to the AFC Championship game. Of course we're going to get to the Super Bowl. We're going to win that. We're going to beat Josh Allen. We're going to get to the Super Bowl, and we're going to do like we do every single time. It's going to be a hard-fought game, but at the end of the day, Patrick's going to have the ball in his hands, and he's going to score those last 2 minutes or what have you. I mean, it's the same script over and over and over again. And when you continue to have success, you're only feeding that beast time and time again.
Well,
would you agree with that, Dennis?
Yeah, wholeheartedly, because listen, you mentioned something really important. You have to get lucky in a lot of these Super Bowl runs. I mean, we got lucky when we were in Denver. We got lucky that the safety, when Joe heaved one up with 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter, that he misplayed the ball and Jacoby Jones caught it and tied the ball game and went to overtime. That was incredibly lucky. That's not a typical play that you're going to make at the end of a game. So we got lucky to get there and then to win it. But I think about last year. The Chiefs came to the Ravens in Baltimore in the AFC Championship game last year. And I was at that game, and I remember it vividly because the Ravens were going to win that game had Zay Flowers not fumbled on the 1 yard line, had the ball not got punched out on the 1 yard line. The Chiefs do not go to the Super Bowl last year. And, of course, they do punch the ball out on the 1 yard line. They go to the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl. That's their second consecutive. And so there's always these plays in games that have to bounce your way, that have to go your way. And, I mean, it's you could probably point to a bunch of things this season, this postseason run for the Kansas City Chiefs that have gone right for them. And listen, sometimes it's lucky. Sometimes, when preparation meets opportunity, whatever that saying is, right? You make those plays. But how many games have the Chiefs been down and had to come back late? And, in all of their postseason and Super Bowl runs, like it takes a measure of luck to get to this point. Yes, you have to be good. Yes, you have to be prepared for those moments. Yes, you have to be able to perform at your best when your best is needed at the end of games, which Mahomes and Andy Reid and all those guys do better than anybody. But, man, it also takes a little bit of luck, and they've gotten the breaks when they've needed them. And, sometimes the ref has to spot the ball back a little bit when you're playing the Bills. You think about those moments, right? And it's like, wow, when you start to think about all those moments that have to go right, and they do, that's what makes this three-peat or potential three-peat so remarkable. And nobody has more respect for that than we do as former players, because we know how difficult it is to get to that point.
Right.
There's only one team out of 32 professional teams that win the Super Bowl every year. To do it 3 times in a row, to get the breaks that they've gotten 3 times in a row is remarkable. And to play as well in those moments that they've done, I mean, it's incredible.
All right, let's tap into your expertise here real quickly. The Chiefs will win on Sunday if, and then we'll ask you the same thing about the Eagles. Dennis, let's start with you. The Chiefs win Sunday if?
I think they win Sunday if they protect the football. I think these games, playoff games in particular, always come down to turnovers.
Yeah.
And if Patrick Mahomes and company can protect the football and not give the Eagles easy ones, and that's a vaunted Eagles pass rush and defense that has generated turnovers all year, if they can maintain possession of the ball, and a punt is a great outcome in a lot of drives in this game against that defense in particular.
Okay.
You're going to give yourself a chance to be there in the end. And if you're in there in the end, you feel good about Patrick Mahomes being able to close the deal.
Yeah. Austin, the Chiefs win if what?
If they keep Saquon to 100 or less on the ground.
Yeah, he's that move he made where he leaped over the defenders backwards?
That was pretty good.
One of the craziest things you've ever seen.
No, I mean the guy's a freak and he's on a tear, right? I think over the last 3 or 4 games he's averaging like $150 plus, right? And in reality, you want to force somebody like Jalen Hurts to throw the rock, right? I mean, he's got guys on the edges, but I don't think Jalen is not a he's a great quarterback. I think Saquon's bailing him out of a lot of situations just with how good he's running the ball right now.
All right, so let's ask you while we got you. The Eagles win if what?
They got to create turnovers, right, and then capitalize on those turnovers. You want to keep the offense off the field, right? And so the only way that they're going to do that, they know that Kansas City's going to score points, and the only way that you're going to keep up with them is if you force turnovers and capitalize on those turnovers.
Okay, all right, Dennis. Eagles win if what?
So Austin, I'll go with the opposite of what my key was for the Chiefs to win. And so I'm going to go with the opposite of his key for the Chiefs to win, which is you have to establish the run game and you have to have a big game out of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And if they do, and just like you said, you keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, that is a winning formula. And you have to establish the run game. You do not want to put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands time and time again. You do not want him throwing the ball 30, 40 times in this game. You want Saquon Barkley, the guy at the end of this game that's able to run out the clock. You want to be able to hand off throughout the course of this game to him time and time again. And listen, to be completely candid here, I'm going to be rooting for the Eagles. And I'll tell you why. And it's not because I don't like Andy Reid. I love Andy Reid. I love, the BYU connection, all that kind of stuff. But my guy is Kellen Moore. And I think Austin agrees with me. He's a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore was just my neighbor down here in California when he was coaching for the Chargers. We're very close to their family. I'm going to be rooting for Kellen Moore to get his first Super Bowl in this one. Even though if Andy Reid wins his third, what an accomplishment. That's great. I'm riding with the Eagles in this one.
All right.
This will be his first Super Bowl as a member of the church.
That's right.
His first Super Bowl as a member of the church. Let's support that, right? Let's support our new members.
But your prediction is, I want both of your predictions. So you want Kellen, and Kellen's a good friend of mine too. You guys know that, and I've known Kellen since he was a freshman at Boise State. And the funniest thing is, when he was dating Julie Wilson, I was like, she's LDS. Her dad played at BYU. He goes, yeah, I know. And I said, do you go to church with Julie? He goes, yeah. I said, so when are you going to join the church? He goes, oh, I probably will. This is like when he was a junior at Boise State. And it took a few years, right, Austin? But he did eventually. Yep. So I love Kellen too. This is why I look at this Super Bowl and it's like, this is a no-lose for me. If Andy wins, I'm thrilled for Andy. If Kellen wins, I'm thrilled for Kellen. So I don't have a hard rooting interest in this one. And I can actually be happy for the first time in years no matter who wins this one. Because I usually hate one of the teams in there. So, but I think the Chiefs just have too much experience. And so I'm going to pick the Chiefs because I think they'll win it at the end in a close game. What's your prediction? Who wins it, Dennis? Who wins this thing?
First off, did you just take credit for Kellen Moore joining the church?
I did challenge him. I'm probably the first one to ever challenge him to get baptized. Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, good on you, Blaine. I'm going to predict that the Eagles win this one for a lot of reasons. I think they're very good up front defensively. I think they can run the ball. All the things that you want. When you talk about cliche postseason football, you got to stop the run. You got to get after the passer. You got to be able to run the football. That's how the Eagles are built. And this is a rematch from 2 Super Bowls ago.
Yeah.
And the Eagles remember that. And again, a lot of things have to go your way, and the ball has to bounce your way in a lot of occasions to win 3 in a row. I think the Eagles derail the Chiefs in this one. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think they're just a little bit too good. I mean, you look at these rosters just straight up, and the Eagles have guys at almost every position.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to overwhelm the Chiefs at some point in this game.
All right. Austin, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles. It's going to be a close one. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring of a game as we think, though, right? Like, I don't think Kansas City, I think this is the first year that actually their defense is actually kind of getting the recognition that it deserves. But I think, the Eagles are going to have a tough time scoring. And I do think that they're going to put an emphasis on taking Saquon out of the game. And so, I think it's going to be a back and forth. I think it might be a 21-24 type of game, but an Eagles upset.
All right. Okay.
All right.
I'm going with the Chiefs because I'm tired of my nephews crying about the refs the whole time. So I'm going to hear that for 4 hours on Sunday. So I'm like, just to oppose those guys, we'll go for the, just because that's what good uncles do. So I'll go with the Chiefs on that. But I think Barkley is the difference maker, and he wasn't there 2 years ago, and that seems to be like the only guy who wasn't. And he is so key for the Eagles.
Yeah,
so
that's
key.
a good point. He's great.
All right, 5 questions presented by Strategy Squared, delivering connection, clarity, and confidence in business and marketing strategies, owned and operated by a BYU alum who's helping wise guys conquer the world. You can reach Chantal at strategysquare.co. Top 5 Super Bowls of all time, according to Dennis Pitta and Austin Collie. Dennis, let's start with you. Do you want to go 5-1, or do you want to go 1-5, or do you just want to list 5?
I can go 5-1.
Okay.
I think we need to build some anticipation here.
I like this. I like that.
I had to write these down because I could not remember any of the actual Super Bowl numbers, the years, any of that stuff. But there was definitely a couple games that stood out to me in my mind, and for a variety of reasons. Some were just very good games, and some were just memorable for me because of my childhood or whatever. So the first one is kind of a memorable game. Now, this was not a good game at all. This was a blowout. But if you guys remember, in 1994, Super Bowl 29, anybody have any idea what that one is?
Was that Chargers and
is that
49ers? Steve Young, was that?
Chargers 49ers.
Nice.
Chargers 49ers. This is the game that Steve Young was the MVP. He threw, I think 6 touchdowns in this one.
He was awesome.
Yeah, he was out of his mind.
And they boat raced the Chargers in this game. But this was the first Super Bowl that I remember being a true fan of the NFL. And so for that reason, it's in my top 5 because I was a 49er fan at this time. We loved Steve Young. Yeah. I loved that team. I mean, we grew up around L.A. area. We didn't have a team in L.A. at that time. And so the kind of the closest team to us or, vicinity-wise was the 49ers. My dad and his family's from up in that Bay Area. And so that was kind of our closest allegiance. And, we were fans of that team. And so that's that game and that team and that season that I really remember. And I was born in 85. So I was about 9 or 10 years old at that time. And that was like the first season where I'm like, I want to play football. And this is an awesome sport. So for me, that's a very memorable Super Bowl.
All right.
Nice.
Number 4.
Number 4 was Super Bowl 34 in the 99 season. Anybody?
Oh my goodness.
We're turning this into a trivia game as well, by the way.
Okay. Hey, you can't look on your phone.
I'm looking on my phone.
99, give us a hint.
Okay, it was the greatest show on turf.
Oh, the Rams.
Rams, was it Rams Seahawks?
It was Rams Titans.
Rams Titans.
Yes, Rams Titans. Remember, he reached out for the ball.
Yes, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you. As I look back at moments in the Super Bowl, I was like, that came down to one play.
Yeah.
And it was Steve McNair throwing the ball. I think it was Dyson.
Yeah, from the U.
Remember. And he catches a quick slant, and what a beautiful tackle by some linebacker for the Rams. I couldn't even tell you his name, right?
Yeah.
But got him his legs, and he falls 1 yard short in the Super Bowl. I mean, that for me is seared in my memory. That was one of the greatest Super Bowls I've watched.
Yeah, that's.
And I was, I was probably just getting into high school at that point. I was probably 8th grade, and in the height of Pop Warner football and all that kind of stuff. And so that was a memorable one for me. Okay, we'll move on. Sorry, I'm wasting a lot of time.
No, that's awesome.
Number 3, Super Bowl 43, 2008 season.
2008
season.
This game featured a BYU alum.
Oh, the
This is my-
Steelers.
this is my
It's the
number one.
Steelers.
This is my number
It's
one.
the Steelers.
Hey, Austin,
This is your number
don't
one,
reveal
Austin.
your number one. You got yours coming.
Are we talking about
Wait,
Hoke and
no, hold
Kiesel
on.
and those guys?
No, mine was 2007. Sorry. Go ahead.
Do I have the
Okay.
right one, Dennis? Is it the Hoke and Kiesel one? That one?
Okay, so Hoke and Kiesel, they were on the Steelers in this game. Yep.
It's
Aaron
Cardinals.
Francisco.
Aaron
On the Arizona
Francisco.
Cardinals.
And the Cardinals.
Aaron
That's
Francisco
right.
was-
Okay. Yep.
Yes,
Little
for the
pylon
Arizona
corner.
Cardinals. So if you remember in this game, you had James Harrison drop back in a little zone blitz where he's dropping off the edge and he catches the ball on the goal line and goes 100 yards for a touchdown right before the half.
Yeah.
Nobody could bring him down.
Fantastic.
One of the most unbelievable plays in Super Bowl history, in my opinion.
That's a
And
good
then
one.
back and forth, Larry Fitzgerald catches a quick slant towards the end of the game, goes like
Yeah.
70 for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Ben
Yeah.
Roethlisberger gets the ball back, marches all the way down the field, and in a
Back
last-second
pylon corner.
touchdown, he hits a back pylon corner to what's his name? I'm forgetting the receiver now.
Oh,
I don't know.
17. What's his name?
No, it wasn't Plaxico Burress.
It wasn't Plaxico?
I want to say Santana Moss.
oh yeah.
That
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
about
that
right.
was
sounds right.
Santana Moss.
That sounds
Okay,
right.
Santana Moss, back corner, right over the outstretched arm of our own Aaron Francisco. Unfortunately,
Oh, man.
Oh,
couldn't make the play, but what an incredible finish to that game.
Yeah.
That one I'll remember for a lot of those big plays that I just mentioned.
I love it.
all right.
Let's
Okay.
hurry this up, please.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Like,
Okay, we're on,
like, come on,
we're on
dude.
we're on number two.
Number two.
Super Bowl 49. This was in 2014 season.
That's because
This
that's because it's the Ravens and the Niners.
No, wrong. That was in
Oh,
2012.
that's going to be his number
Oh,
one.
dang. All right.
Thank you, though. This
I thought it was a Ravens one. I thought it had to be a Ravens one.
Seahawks.
This is Patriots
Patriots,
Seahawks. Thank you. This is the Malcolm Butler interception game.
That's
Incredible finish to that one. I mean, that
Okay.
one's on there just because of the dramatic ending with that interception. You thought Tom Brady was going down again.
Yeah.
Just hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, people.
That is the Marshall. That was the one where our guy got our offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. Just like
Yeah, Daryl Bell.
Daryl.
Yeah.
Where's Daryl right now?
Didn't work
Daryl's
out for him.
with. Is he Miami now? Daryl's with Miami. He's the quarterback coach in Miami now.
Is he? I
Yeah.
heard he just interviewed for Pete Carroll again in Las Vegas.
He did. That's true. That's true.
I don't know if he got the job or not.
We're assuming at number
Stop
one.
stalling, Blaine. Stop
Okay,
stalling. We gotta
okay,
get to
okay.
number one. Number one is Super Bowl 47. Anybody?
Okay.
Your finest hour?
Super Bowl 47. The Baltimore Ravens take down the 49ers. The lights go off at halftime. Incredibly memorable Super Bowl for me for a few reasons. But that's
Yeah.
my number one.
No,
That's
I was-
awesome.
it was just funny
let's
'cause
get to Austin.
When you were talking about that one, I was thinking, why is he putting his Super Bowl at number two?
At number
I'm like,
two.
there must be some like childhood thing that puts something else at number one. So I'm glad. I'm glad that yours was number one.
We have great anticipation for your list here. Top 5 Super Bowls of all
Okay.
time. Number 5.
2008 Giants versus the Patriots.
Giants.
David Tyree's helmet catch.
Patriots were undefeated, right?
Patriots were
At
undefeated.
that point in time, yes, they were.
Yeah.
Wow.
Randy Moss.
They had a chance to
Save the Dolphins.
to match the Dolphins and save the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The helmet catch. Okay.
Yep.
2016 Patriots versus Falcons, a great comeback.
Oh, yeah.
We all
28-3.
thought the Patriots were down and out.
How's
Yep.
that not on your list, Dennis? That was a classic.
Tom
Yeah, no,
Brady, 466 yards throwing that day.
Wow.
That wasn't that. Listen, I went most memorable for me. Okay, don't tell
Okay.
me what was most memorable for me. I remember. We all remember that game.
Yes,
There
of
was-
course.
I feel like I said some good ones
You
too.
got
You
some
said
good
great
ones. All
ones. You
right.
did.
By the way, do you know? Can you give me a unique fact? First ever in Super Bowl history of the Patriots Falcons. What was it?
Gosh, I don't know.
First
Somebody came
ever
back from
Super
28-3
Bowl-
deficit?
No, first ever Super Bowl overtime.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Okay.
Who
All
knew?
right.
Back. Okay.
Okay.
Number 3.
My number 3 is Patriots Seahawks.
That
My
That tw-
number 4. My number 4 is.
Are we going? Are you going?
Baltimore's-
Are you going like low to high here? High to low? What are we doing here?
You're at number 2. 2 was
my number
2
2.
best, right?
second best.
Yeah, you said number 4.
Well, I'm just going down my list.
He's going
here,
down his
right?
list. So number 4 is number 2 all time, right?
Sure. Or we can just scramble it up, whatever you want.
Okay.
Number 4 or number 2 would be Denver in Carolina, or Denver beating Carolina in Levi Stadium.
2016.
That was Peyton beating Cam Newton. Love to see that, just because the sheriff goes from one organization to the other, takes that team to 2 Super Bowls, wins the second one.
Awesome.
Wow,
Yeah.
a lot of pandering to Peyton Manning
The
on that
sheriff.
one. That wasn't a very memorable game.
Yeah.
Well, buckle up, because my number 1
Colts Bears.
Colts Bears 2006. No, I'm joking. Ravens 49ers, man. It's fun getting to see a buddy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Childhood memory.
How about that?
How big of you?
Get to live it for both of us, unfortunately.
See how nice of a friend Austin is,
That
Dennis?
was. I actually feel bad for all the stuff I've said throughout this podcast.
I love all of yours. One of my favorite ones was when Dennis was 1 year old. Dennis was 1.
86.
Because my Jimmy McMahon took those Chicago Bears and destroyed the Patriots 46-10, and Jim was phenomenal in it, and just the whole build up to it, and just to have a BYU quarterback doing what he did in that game was pretty amazing.
I like the Dallas Cowboys when they beat the Broncos when we were probably 10 years old.
Yeah.
I think it was in New Orleans. Roger Staubach and those guys. Those guys were big for us.
My wife just sent me this. She does not know I'm doing this stream, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Does not know I'm doing this podcast. And this is what she sent me. 1 year ago today, those are my 2 boys with the Pitta signs.
That's awesome. And she doesn't even know
That's
that.
adorable.
That is awesome.
She does not know.
That's awesome.
She does not know.
Shout out to Brooke.
Yep.
Hey, let's finish with this, guys. It's been awesome having you. A lot of folks enjoying your stories.
We're loving it. So
Big 12 puts out their football schedule tomorrow officially. They leaked the Colorado game, which is September 27th in Boulder. What do you think about that, and where do you want to see them put the BYU-Utah game when they roll it out tomorrow?
Thanksgiving week, or rivalry week, whenever that is.
amen. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yep. That's Thanksgiving weekend. I want it in the middle of the day on Thanksgiving weekend. What about you, Dennis?
Yeah, I mean, I always like when it comes towards that end of the season, like you guys just mentioned. I think doesn't quite carry as much cachet when it's like week 2 or 3 or something like that, which a lot of these Utah games have been in the last handful of seasons. So I would love for it to get moved back, and you kind of have that traditional rivalry game when Michigan's playing Ohio State and Texas is playing whoever their rival is. I was going to say Texas, Oklahoma, but I think that's earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's the Red River.
That was a bad example, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Listen, selfishly for Magic Happens hoodies, I'm hoping it's that Thanksgiving week.
Yep.
We're going to push a lot of product that week.
A lot of product down people's throats that week.
Hey, there's another big game coming up on March 28th at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, the annual alumni football game. Will you two be in uniform and on the field that night?
Wow. Austin, what do you think?
Sorry, my boys just got in. No, I won't be there. Is it the alumni football game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why are you? What?
Why would you just not be this March 28th?
If an old dude like Steve Young can come play, then you can come play.
You live down the road, Austin.
Dennis has to fly in, and he's going to be here.
Listen, I've seen too many injuries. You know, I got injured training for the dang thing, right?
Max blew out his Achilles.
Still haven't recovered from that injury. So, just gonna watch from the sidelines.
All right, Dennis, are you in? You're gonna continue to carry the torch?
I would like to come to that one. Yeah, as
Dennis
Austin
is
knows,
not coming to that one.
I struggle to commit early to things.
Yeah, Dennis is. And there's one thing I do know: Dennis will not be there.
That is not true. I actually would like to come again, and we missed last year.
Yeah.
But
it was fun. So Max and John.
Did Max come back?
Yeah, he
last year?
came back and played with his rehabbed Achilles, and
We fully
John
expect
played.
him back this year.
The fun thing was that Steve Young was on campus speaking to the Management Society. He didn't even know. And somebody said, "Are you doing the alumni game?" He goes, "Well, when is it?" And they said,
right now.
it's actually like in a few minutes. And he goes, Just a minute, let me make a call. Of course, this is Steve Young. So he calls his private jet up at the airport, over at the airport, and says, hey, you're going to have to hold on a couple hours. I'm going to go play in an alumni game. And he just shows up, and he plays, and he throws a touchdown pass. He's an old dude like me. It was awesome, you guys.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Are you going to be playing, Blaine?
I have to broadcast it. Otherwise, I would, but I have to broadcast it.
You can broadcast as you play, Blaine.
You mean like mic me up and have me call the game while I'm playing in it?
I don't know. Insurance.
Wear one of those sport mics that get all around.
My insurance company denied me the opportunity to play last year. They said they'll pull my policy if I play.
They haven't changed. They haven't changed either. Hey guys,
that's probably a good move.
We look forward to seeing both of you that night in one form or the other. It's such a great time for all of you as alumni to get together and hang out.
Yep.
And I know that means a lot to
we
both
love
of
you guys, and we're grateful you guys would come on with us. I don't get to see you, Dennis. I get to see Austin around the league with the boys, because now I got grandkids playing against his boys.
Plus, Austin hangs out with us on BYU TV.
He comes
now.
and does shows with us.
Yeah, I know. You guys are all buddies out there. I'm kind of the odd man out in this group, but I appreciate you letting me come on. And listen, if I can make it out to that alumni game, Austin will be there too.
Okay.
Great.
I'll make sure
that sounds like
good.
a dual
so it's a twofer,
commitment.
but we're hoping they're both going to be there.
Thanks, guys. We know you're busy. Thanks for the hour. It's one of the best hours of the year.
Yes, you guys are awesome.
Enjoy the
You're
week.
the best.
All right, guys.
James.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Dennis Pitta, Austin Collie, two of our favorites, two of the best that ever played at BYU. They played in the Super Bowl.
How about the fact that we had a team
That was great.
with Max Hall playing quarterback, Dennis Pitta playing tight end, Austin Collie playing wide receiver, and Harvey Young playing tailback.
It's amazing we didn't go undefeated and win another national championship.
It's like, from an offensive skills perspective, that is unbelievable that those guys all were on the same team.
Yeah.
We didn't have any trouble converting third downs. I'm just going to tell you that.
No.
So
you know what? We appreciate access to them. It's their busy lives and all that stuff.
And they're both running. Here's the thing: they're both running around chasing kids and preparing. Like as Austin said when he came on, he's there with the next generation. My grandson was playing in a basketball game up in Salt Lake City. Where was it? I can't remember where it was, but up in Salt Lake City someplace. No, it was up at by Point of the Mountain. And we pull in, and I go in, and I see Austin down there. He waves me down, and I sit by Austin, and we watch my grandson playing against one of his boys. And these guys are being great dads. They're out there coaching and helping and supporting and dividing and conquering with their great wives to bring on the next generation of Cougs.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I love that Brooke sent those pictures over of the kids with their Dennis Pitta posters and great stuff.
That's
great stuff.
Awesome.
And you want to listen to this one again at wiseguys.com.
And
I'm sorry about the darkness. They were in cars and all that stuff.
Because they were in their cars. They weren't in the witness protection program tonight.
They've been on the podcast. It looked great.
They were just in their cars.
Yeah. So there we go. And we look forward to seeing them on March 28th. Super Bowl. I didn't love that they both went with the Eagles. I'm still going with Andy, and I don't have really loyalty to one. I mean, I was talking to Chad Lewis the other day, and he played for the Eagles, and he played for Andy Reid. He loves Andy Reid, and all right, that's a conflict right there, right? But I think he loves Andy more.
Yeah.
And I love that Andy was on the show last year, and he talked about the challenge of doing something no one's ever done before, and all he did is go 16-2 in the regular season, and here they are.
Yeah, and so their whole thing is that Kellen Moore, and they are very dear friends with Kellen Moore. I know he lives up by Austin. And
that's fine. He might be the next coach of the Saints.
But here's my thing. I just look at and I love Kellen too, but I'm like, this is maybe, Andy doesn't have that many more opportunities. Let's let him put his stamp on history, right? And I know Austin would say, yeah, you never know if you're ever going to get there again. I just feel like Kellen Moore is such a good coordinator and such a good coach. He's going to have other Super Bowl opportunities. So I want Andy to get this one, and then I'll root for Kellen from that point forward.
So that's the Super Bowl on Sunday. And remember, we prefaced it by the Super Bowl tomorrow night at the Marriott Center with BYU and Arizona at 9 o'clock Mountain Time on ESPN2. And let's as we turn the corner and head down the home stretch, we got a lot going on campus that we want to get you up to speed on.
They got Arizona, and then they go on the road to Cincinnati, who they beat earlier in the season at home on Saturday. That's at 4 p.m. Mountain on ESPN2. Can you imagine if BYU could get Arizona at home and beat Cincinnati on the road this week and go 6 straight in the Big 12? Then there won't be on the bubble anymore. Let me just say that.
They'll be in the top 25 next Monday.
That's exactly
for
right.
Sure.
So,
all right, big games in the Big 12 this week as we shift back to basketball. Iowa State, Kansas is tonight. That's big.
Yeah.
Arizona, BYU tomorrow. Baylor at Texas Tech.
That's a big one.
Tomorrow, BYU Cincinnati Saturday. Kansas at Kansas State Saturday. Texas Tech at Arizona Saturday. So now when you're tied for fifth, all these games are huge now because you can get into fourth, you can get into third, or you can get knocked to seventh. These are teams all fighting each other.
Yeah.
And so February leading into March Madness, this is it.
It's crazy time.
This is
right
the
now.
time.
Yep. Big games every game.
Our Cougarboard question of the week is right here. If you're not familiar with Cougarboard, it's the largest online community of BYU fans. Thousands of posts every day. This question comes from JRE85, one of their insider subscribers. Any update on how revenue sharing will be split among athletes next year? Is the government still taking the position that Title IX applies to revenue sharing payments?
So
got anything on that?
Title IX talks about equality, like there needs to be equivalent number of scholarships available for female athletes as well as male athletes in the program, and it just makes sure that things are being distributed fairly inside of athletic programs. Here's the interesting thing. This is the honest to goodness truth. I was just talking a few weeks ago with some of the folks at BYU. They still don't know exactly how this thing's going to work. Like they talk about there's going to be revenue sharing next year, and this is what we're going to do. But they haven't come out with a framework for how it's supposed to be administrated. And they're nervous about it. Everybody's nervous about it because they don't want it to be a free-for-all like NIL has been, right? Where there's just no guidelines on it. And they're hoping to get like some more information about how they're supposed to do it. Does Title IX apply or does it not apply? What does this revenue sharing mean? How much is it going to be? What's the share? And so it's been hard because I know that they've been negotiating contracts with coaches and things like we all know that Jay Hill just kind of got his contract extended. And they're really cautious. Like, we're not sure how much money we can give out to coaches right now because we're not sure how this revenue sharing is going to affect us. We're this close to it, and we still don't have great, solid guidelines on how it's going to be administrated. And does that surprise you, though, with the way the NIL thing came out?
No.
Yeah. So the answer is we don't know the answer. And that's discouraging that we don't know the answer.
We'll keep you up to date as best we can as that moves forward. Eventually, it's going to have to be quite clear.
Right.
It might take a commissioner. It might take the Trump administration to go, you know what, here's what we think of Title IX. Here's what we think of this. Here's what you can do there. I think any number of directions. In my opinion,
NIL needs to be reeled in. There needs to be some guidance put around NIL. Because right now, and there needs to be some guidance around open transfer opportunities. Right now, college football and basketball are way less regulated than any professional sport. Because think about it, professional sports has salary caps, and they have guidance with like for instance the NBA. The NBA's Players Association has negotiated deals with the NBA that guarantee contracts to be a certain amount for certain draft picks, and you can't just go leave a team because there's free agency, but there's conditions on free agency. It's not just, hey, everybody's a free agent every single year. Can you imagine if our professional sports operated like college football is right now? It'd be a mess. No. And it's amazing to me that something that was almost the most regulated thing, and we thought there was way over-regulated, isn't regulated at all right now. They got to put their arms around that and figure out how to fix that.
Hey, a wise guy shout out to BYU basketball's chief of staff, Doug Stewart. On Sunday, he was inducted into the South Jersey Basketball Hall of Fame.
And guess
fantastic.
What? He's hired, and BYU's new, they hired a GM or a similar position, is to figure out all of this stuff we just talked about.
Yeah.
These are businessmen, attorneys, and business people that have been hired on to say, okay, help us figure out NIL, revenue sharing, all of the business part of how we're going to do this. Please help us do it. These people have been hired, including, these two GM roles are specifically to address all these issues we just said we couldn't address.
Women's basketball is 11-10, 2-8 in the Big 12. Cambry Barber today was named the Big 12 Freshman of the Week following her 15 points and 12 rebounds against Arizona State. They beat the Sun Devils Saturday night, 77-67 in Tempe. Emma Calvert had 22 points. That was a big win. Arizona State struggling too, and pretty soon the losses just start compounding. You got to go grab one. So they grab one, and it came on the heels of a heartbreaker against Colorado. Then they could have won so many ways.
67-66, and 3 chances in the final 20 seconds. Missed 2 shots and ended the game at a turnover under the basket.
Yeah, they had that one. And Colorado was for the taking.
Yeah.
This week, UCF's at BYU Wednesday at 7 Mountain Time, and BYU's at Baylor Saturday at 6 Mountain Time. Both those games on ESPN Plus and BYU Radio.
Yeah, and then men's volleyball, 6-4, national ranking number 5. When did the rankings come out again?
5 in one poll, 6 in the coaches poll.
That's right. Number 4 Hawaii swept number 5 BYU at the Smith Fieldhouse 3-2-3-1.
Those were exciting matches.
Yeah, it's just like high level volleyball.
Yeah, that 3-2-1 was Hawaii was the better team the second night. That 3-2-1 BYU had so many opportunities.
Yeah.
But it was great, first class. Top 5, top 6 volleyball.
It's if you want to see world-class volleyball, you just go to the Fieldhouse and watch it. This week, UC Santa Barbara's at BYU Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m. both nights. Big Ten Plus network, and then the rebroadcast on BYU at 10 p.m., BYU TV.
So that's kind of a new twist. The Big Ten wanted volleyball, so they bought into that. Yep. So you can get the Big Ten network app. Might cost a little bit, or you can watch the rebroadcast.
Yeah, the BYU broadcast at 10 if you want to watch it.
Gymnastics is 2-9, 0-2 in the Big 12. Took second in a tri-meet with Southern Utah and UC Davis. This week, BYU's at Denver on Friday. Next home meets West Virginia of the Big 12 on Valentine's, February 14th.
Yeah, and how about track and field? It's the indoor season right now, so not outdoor yet. National rankings, the new polls will come out tomorrow, but as of last week, BYU's women were number 5 in the country. Texas Tech is number 2, so Big 12 partner is number 2. The BYU men are unranked, so it's not quite like cross country.
No,
where BYU's like 1-1, like they're ranked number 1 and number 1.
The women, however, they had an amazing weekend.
Yes, they did. So they could be higher when this all.
Lexi Holiday Lowry set the school record in the 5,000 meters in 14:57.63 at the Terrier Classic in Boston, 4th fastest time in NCAA history, and she beat the old school record by 18 seconds.
18 seconds in track is crazy. And then Megan Hunter set a program record in 800 meters. She ran 2 minutes flat, 2 minutes, 0.21. It's the top time this year in the NCAA, and she now owns 4 school records at BYU.
Riley Chamberlain set the school record in the mile, 4:26.19. And then on the men's side, Tyler Matthews ran the 12th fastest collegiate time this year in the 800 meters at 1:47.27. That was a fast weekend.
Yeah, it's just a little faster than what you used to run that 800.
Just a little bit.
4:26.19.
I ran in the wind. I have the wind blowing my face.
In my lifetime, I don't think I could ever have broken like 5 minutes in a mile. No. Ever.
And I watched some of the videos.
I don't know if I could have broken 5:30. Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It's a sprint for 4 minutes. It's crazy.
Next meet, the Don Kirby Elite Invitational in Albuquerque, February 14th and 15th. Women also at the Husky Classic in Seattle, 14th and 15th. Coach Ed Eyestone, by the way, is going to join the Wise Guys on February 24th.
He'll be with us. Softball season opener, BYU at UC San Diego, Thursday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time.
This is the week. It's back.
Yep. And Coach Gordon Eakin, who's on the show just a couple weeks ago, 831 wins. Make sure you go check out that interview with Coach Eakins.
831. He'll go for 832 on Thursday.
831 wins.
Men's golf, the Arizona Collegiate is underway in Tucson. They played 36 holes today, 18 tomorrow. BYU has a 9-shot lead heading into the final round. Peter Kim's in first place at -11. Kevin Wu's in second at -9, and Simon Kwan is third at -8. That's one awesome start to a tournament. Again, final round tomorrow. The John A. Burns Intercollegiate in Hawaii is February 13th through the 15th. Our interview with Bruce Brockbank is at wiseguys.com. That was fascinating, too. Yeah. He's got a team.
Yep. And then women's golf, the FAU Paradise Invitational wraps up tomorrow. Next up, San Diego State Classic, February 10th through the 11th. Head coach Kerry Roberts joins us in 2 weeks.
And the last check we had, the Cougars are in 8th place.
Right.
21 shots behind Oklahoma State. They're having a week.
Yeah. Oklahoma State.
Cowgirls are doing all
having
right.
the kind of week BYU men are having, right?
Tennis, the BYU women are at home against Idaho State Saturday. The men Thursday at Wagner College, and then Friday at Villanova, and Saturday at Lehigh as they roam the East Coast.
And now they're getting up and going. We'll have to bring Holly Hassler on again. She did great with us. What a great story. Baseball season opener, BYU at Fresno State, February 14th, 7 Mountain on BYU Radio. You can watch last week's Wise Guys interview with Coach Trent Pratt at wiseguys.com. And you're going to be on the road with him at Fresno.
Yeah,
right?
it'll be a great Valentine's activity.
I'm sure.
Listen to
I'm sure Diane's thrilled
on the
that
radio.
that's where you're going to be for Valentine's Day.
She's thrilled about that. But it's great to have baseball back.
Yep. All the spring stuff's coming now.
And it means we're going to start getting warmer.
Yeah.
Today was decent around here. Like
I
50
didn't wear a
degrees.
coat or shoes up here tonight.
Yeah. Well, you don't usually wear shoes.
No, I'd never wear shoes, but I didn't wear a
but you
coat.
wear a
I
coat.
wore slippers.
That's a sign.
But I didn't wear a coat up here tonight.
Swimming and diving's at Utah Friday and Saturday. So that's what's going on campus.
Busy week.
Let's roll out with On This Day on February 3rd, one of our favorite segments of the show, because this is the world we live in.
That's right. Let's go all the way back. Let's not start with 19 anything.
Sometimes we like to go
Let's
old
go to
school.
1815. The world's first commercial cheese factory was established in Sweden.
Changed the world.
Why would I thought it would be Switzerland because Swiss cheese.
That's what I thought.
But it was Swedish cheese that started it.
Swedish cheese. On this day in 1863, Samuel Clemens first uses the pen name Mark Twain in a Virginia City newspaper.
And do you know where Samuel Longhorn Clemens spent a lot of time?
No.
In Elmira, New York.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain. There's a golf course that I used to grow up playing on called the Mark Twain Golf Course in Elmira, New York.
Is that right?
So, 1882. Circus owner P.T. Barnum buys his world-famous elephant, Jumbo.
Did that on this day in 1882.
Greatest Showman
I
was
believe
about P.T.
Dumbo
Barnum,
was
wasn't it?
Dumbo, the legend of Dumbo, was that like Jumbo's son?
Jumbo's son was Dumbo.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I
was
thought
Jumbo?
So.
I thought Jumbo. I think you're right.
I think Jumbo was the yeah.
But P.T. Barnum, the greatest story of P.T. Barnum is The Greatest Showman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a great show.
1924 on this day, Canada beats the U.S. 6-1 to win the gold medal in the first Winter Olympics in France. 1924.
Wow. 1942. Baseball owners agreed to permit teams to play up to 14 night games.
That was nice of them.
Night games.
Yeah, the Cubs were like, nah, we're not doing that till a long time later. 1959 on this day is the day the music died. Buddy Holly and his band killed in a plane crash in Iowa.
Yeah, so that song is about that plane crash, right? Bye,
Took me
bye,
forever
Miss American
to figure
Pie.
that out.
Yeah. Who sang that? I don't even know.
McLean, something McLean.
Oh,
Steve
wow.
McLean.
I know the song. I could play it. But I couldn't remember who wrote it.
Something McLean.
Yeah. 1966, the first operational weather satellite was launched into orbit.
Now think about how that changed the world.
Yeah.
Now we just go on our phone. What's
I'm going to look at the weather, and I actually can watch the radar. So
Michael says Dumbo was a Disney movie. We're right. We're just saying where the legend came from.
The legend came
where
from.
the story came
yes,
from.
we know Dumbo was a Disney
We know there
movie.
wasn't a flying elephant. But thank you for
Michael.
that. 1979 on this day, YMCA by the Village People peaks at number 2 in the pop singles chart.
Didn't the Village People just sing it something?
At the inauguration.
They sang it at our inauguration.
Yeah, they're still going.
Along with, who was it that just sang a cappella?
Oh, well, Carrie Underwood
Oh, my
sang
goodness,
at
yes.
the thing. The Village People were later that night.
Carrie Underwood, unbelievable. Yeah, we got to continue to give her props for that. 2002, on this day, the Patriots beat the Rams 2017 in Super Bowl in New Orleans. Tom Brady was the MVP.
On this day in 2008, the Giants beat the Patriots 17-14 in Glendale, Arizona. Eli Manning was the MVP.
Yeah. 2013, the Ravens beat the Niners 34-31 in New Orleans, and we already documented that Dennis Pitta caught a touchdown in that
I don't know if we said congratulations to Denna, that this is the anniversary of that day.
Yeah, we should have reminded
That slipped past us. 2019 and what was going to be one of the most explosive, exciting Super Bowls of all time.
Yeah, it wasn't.
The Patriots beat the Rams 13-3.
How in the world? Okay.
For the love.
Let's go to birthdays on that downer.
13-3.
If
I still remember that just
if
going,
this Super Bowl, because
serious?
Austin said he thinks it'll be a lower scoring Super Bowl, but he did say like 24-21.
Yeah.
If we have a 13-3 Super Bowl, it's
not gonna be
No,
good.
it's not a good thing.
Not gonna be good.
Let's go to birthdays. February 3rd birthdays. Who was born on this day? Norman Rockwell in 1894, the great artist.
How about 1940, Fran Tarkenton, the Vikings quarterback, who kind of invented the scrambling thing.
Yeah, he was a dual threat guy.
Yeah.
And he was just a little guy, and he was my favorite player when I was growing up because not only did he finished with the Vikings, but he played for the Giants when I was growing up in New York.
Well, when he was on the Vikings, he had the purple people eaters.
Yeah. He was better with he was good at the Giants too. He had Ron Johnson was running back, Spider Lockhart, the great return man. But Fran Tarkington was one of my heroes of my childhood.
Don McLean, thank you, John.
Thank you
Don
for that,
McLean.
Don McLean.
I knew it was a McLean.
I took my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Right?
Yeah, that's him, just like it sounds.
So
sounds
yeah,
just like
exactly.
it. 1945.
Oh, 45. Bob Greasy, another one of my heroes. Dolphins quarterback, 2-time Super Bowl champion.
Undefeated.
Yep.
He was the undefeated
only
guy?
undefeated quarterback in NFL history.
So you and he have that in common because you went undefeated in '84.
Yeah. Great player and a good human. So
on this day, deaths on February 3rd, 1468, Johannes Gutenberg, the inventor of the movable printing press, the Gutenberg press, another invention that changed the world.
yeah, absolutely. 1924, President Woodrow Wilson, 20th President of the United States, passed away on this
In
day.
1959, Buddy Holly, the musician.
You mentioned that. Well, his whole group did. So
Our Wise Guy's inspirational quote of the week is from Norman Rockwell.
right.
Norman Rockwell has some awesome paintings about basic things, which really reflect our life, because most of our lives are basic.
Yeah. Life in the United States.
So this is what he said.
He said, commonplaces never become tiresome. It is we who become tired when we cease to be curious and appreciative.
Isn't that interesting?
So if you're in a common place, just make sure that you stay curious and you stay appreciative of all the things that are around you.
Well said by Norman
Now,
Rockwell.
we don't live in a common place. I mean, I grew up in New York, where it's really green and beautiful, but I'm driving down the freeway here, like the day after a storm,
mountains.
when you look up at Timpanogos and it's covered in whiteness and the blue sky behind it, how do you not just step back and go, wow,
I don't know why more people don't live here,
we're just blessed.
but I'm okay that they don't. You go back to New York and Chicago and you just go, don't you know the pioneers went west?
I know.
I don't think they know.
Yep.
I don't know what they're teaching in schools back there, but there's a frontier
Yeah.
where you can have a lawn, a garden, and
Everything.
you don't have to get on a freeway to get to a grocery store. But,
That's right.
All right. Hey, special thanks to Dennis Pitta and Austin Collie, our Super Bowl special, with them for an
How often do you
hour.
get a show that has two guys that played in the Super Bowl and tell you all about the inside? It was really fascinating to hear the inside on.
Yeah. And they're
what
friends,
they were
and they had fun poking at each other.
And
but
I do love that they both played a Super Bowl, but in Dennis's Super Bowl, Austin went and supported him.
And Austin's favorite Super Bowl was the one Dennis won.
Yep.
And Dennis's favorite Super Bowl was also the one he won.
Yeah. Even though the lights went out for 45 minutes in the second half.
Yeah.
So
great stuff. Next week, former Cougar linebacker Brian Keel's going to be with us. We'll go through the football schedule in a fun way after it's announced tomorrow and have some time to think about it. But that's coming up next week.
yeah. Where can people find us? Tomorrow morning, I'll be on Sports Nation. And then I have the post-game show tomorrow night. So I got an early assignment and a late assignment. I'll be on about 10:30 tomorrow morning on Sports Nation.
I'll be in the Deseret News all week, and I'm hosting Sports Nation Thursday, Friday, next Monday, and Tuesday.
Yep.
I don't know which guy is going to the Himalayas, but I'm in for one of them.
Yeah, there you go. Somebody's going someplace.
So that's a lot of us.
And
That's how we roll.
Let's remind people, we talked about it at the start. Big 12 football schedule is released tomorrow, 9 o'clock Mountain Time on ESPNU. BYU Sports Nation will have extensive coverage on that at 10. Give you kind of a preview of each team and what they expect, all of that. That's on BYU TV and BYU Radio tomorrow morning.
It'll be interesting when it comes out, but of course the big thing is, where's the Utah game? It's in Provo this year,
Right.
so are we going to be freezing to death? Is it going to be, we won't get the TV times, but is it going to be November? And then you look at the November games and you go, okay,
Yep.
which is the one they're going to stick? If we're the only one out west, we're going to be at night.
I don't care where anybody else is. If they have a day game, because we know who's a home and away, so that's not going to surprise me. I don't care what order they put them in. If that schedule comes out, I'm going to go right to the end of the schedule.
and then work
if
your way back.
Thanksgiving weekend, Utah and BYU play, and it's in the day, I'll be thrilled with the schedule.
Yeah.
If they play some weirdo time in October, I'm not going to be happy.
We do know they're going to play Colorado on September 27th.
Right. And that'll be fun.
Over in Boulder. The weather will be nice no matter what time they play.
Right.
And it'll be a big TV draw for a number of reasons. Both teams are good. BYU should be coming through. They should be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Coming through those first three if they get through those first three. And Deion's involved.
So that'll be fun.
It's going to be, I don't know if it'll be 8 million like it was in the Alamo Bowl, but it might be close.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Hey, so that's tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Mountain Time. We'll get the schedule, and then all our lives will be changed forever.
That's right.
At least for the next 12 months.
Hey, and let's remind everybody that Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus and distributed by the Deseret News.
And we're getting out on the nose 8 o'clock. 6 to 8. 2 hours of what we call broadcast excellence.
We're counting it down. 7:59 in 3, 2, 1. See you next week.
See you guys.